All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Garcia versus Onama, taking a look at UFC Fight Night, Bonfim versus Brown. And to do all of that with me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the Ohio player, a man who wants his money back, Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
Dude, I'm good. It's obviously a Monday. We had fights on a Saturday. Can't wait to talk about a lot of those, but there are obviously some other pressing matters that I think a lot of people are wanting us to talk about. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we will be going over all of the fights, of course. But as Chase and I discussed before the stream started, we couldn't start this thing without going directly into the elephant in the room today, which is, of course, the major scandal that is now rocking the UFC and mixed martial arts as a whole. Of course, we were talking about the fight fixing, which went down with Isaac Dulgarian and Yadir Del Valle's fight. We will, of course, talk about the fight itself, but I'm sure if you saw the video that was out on the Yama channel, I went into some detail in that. Basics of it is that it looks like Isaac Dulgarian threw his fight, and there is potential that the UFC might have known about it, and the FBI might be involved now, and there might be more fights being fixed, and there might be a referee involved. This thing went from a kernel of an idea of possibly something going on into a massive, massive scandal literally overnight. I mean, from Saturday night to where we are right now on Monday night, this thing has exploded in a massive way.
Yeah, no, this one is definitely one of the more interesting ones. I'm actually super intrigued. I genuinely, I do want to speculate so many different things, but when it comes to this, like I'm really just kind of waiting for some more news to drop because I want to know what exactly is the deal. There's so many other things that make you question a lot of things, specifically with the main event, but we'll talk about that later. But this is just one of those moments where I'm really excited to see who's going to pay the price for me and all my bets losing because that's really what it comes down to.
Class action Chase is on the case here. It is rather funny that we, on one of the Friday streams, not more than a couple of weeks ago, were just talking about how, with the way that the fights all go down, we were talking about it in terms of the commission at the time. But now, I mean, this blows a hole right into everything. It's like all of this money with sports wagering going in all different directions. And now a massive scandal like this. What does that change in the landscape? Are there going to be punishments? Now, this is coming only a couple of years, as I had mentioned in the video, only a couple of years after the James Krause incident, where the same basic fundamental principles all were in play. And what ended up really happening from that? I mean, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I looked into this a little bit in research for the video, and I think that might even still be an actively open investigation with Krause. So
Nice.
I know, right? 3 years later, and now this on top of it. So it's just keep rolling that all into the same big bundle of shit. But at the same time, it's like the question that you're asking is insanely valid. Like, what is going to happen from all of this? Who is going to pay, if anybody is going to pay? And now, based on that other information, go into all of the sources of that in just a second. But based on the information that has come out incrementally, with the possibility of the UFC knowing about this, what, if anything, is going to happen to the organization? I mean, if you actively know that a fight potentially has a fix in play and you let that fight take place, are you not complicit in some respect?
That is a crazy thing for it to be true, but I think obviously the UFC, and I could be wrong unless did they openly who reported that the UFC knew about this?
Well, and I'm glad that you asked that, because this does go to one of the major points of all of this, which is there is this person online who has been getting a ton of attention for this. I mentioned him in the video. His name is Harry Mack. He kind of came out of nowhere. Apparently, some people are saying that he's an MMA journalist. He himself has claimed that he is a promoter and matchmaker in New York. So perhaps there's some inside information with that. I don't know the reality of it, and I don't know if anybody does. However, I have now heard Ariel Helwani parroting the same things that he's been saying. So I guess Ariel considers him a credible source, unless Ariel has another source. So the only one that I know of is this Harry Mack person. He is the one that has been getting a lot of attention for this, for the takes that he's been having for this. And he is the one who said that there was potentially knowledge from the UFC that this was going down. The FBI contacted the UFC to let them know. They let the fight go on. And then he also came out with the claim that 100 other fights are being investigated, as well as Jason Herzog, the referee. If Herzog is compromised, so I said in the video, if the Herzog is compromised, this throws this entire thing, like this blows this scandal up from several isolated incidents into a sports wide scandal. It blows this up into a proportion that is way farther than what we have right now, because Herzog referees for UFC, he referees for PFL, he might even go overseas to do some shows over in other regions of the world. I mean, this takes this outside of the realm of a couple of bad apples, and now this turns this into a bad bunch in the sport itself.
I'm actually going to take one comment specifically real quick. Shout out actually to the chat real quick. Hydra and B Basoya and CTESPN. I'm going to go ahead and shout out your comment. Muhammad Yahya make it to the second round. Specifically because of this one, I put money on for the KO for Stephen Wynn, and I genuinely did not think we were going to get it. Herzog reffing that. Obviously at the time, I'm questioning, like, what do you have like on this fucking fight here, man? Like, what could you have possibly done to make it this way? So now him being the one specifically targeted in this investigation, quote unquote, is interesting. But you know, all the refs have their crazy fucking moments. But you know, if Herzog is the one, listen. I know we talk about early stoppages a lot, but people do want to talk about the Tallis and Teixeira stoppage too. I don't necessarily agree, but I do think I also am nitpicking it as well when I say, like, well, he was kind of grabbing the cage. It's like, okay, you know. Anyway,
Well, but see, that's the thing, though, is that when it comes to the referees, it's much more hard to pin down any one of those things, because it goes back to all of what we always say. It's the split second nature of it. It's the angle that they're at. It's the impact of the shots. I mean, it's a lot. There's so many different elements of it that like make it way more subjective and way more of wiggle room that they have. And that's why it's like, when, you know, that sometimes obviously it's very blatant and you know that, but other times it's like, yeah, well, you know, I always try to be the guy that gives them the benefit of the doubt. But yes, this calls so much into question now. I think back to my guy, Jared Cannonier, you know, I mean, his entire career trajectory changed off of that. You know, I mean, like, everybody's career trajectory changes off of these if they are, you know, if that's the case of it. But you're right. It's hard to say any which one and pinpoint any which specific incident, you know?
the reason I think it's gonna be interesting, especially if there's a ref in on it, because in theory, according to fight fixing itself. I mean, prop fixing. I mean, I guess if you want to throw them all into one thing, yeah, he's probably been, juicing some props for himself or some other people. That's clear. But when it comes to actually picking the victor of the match in the round, like, there's not much that a referee can do about that. I mean, if the fighter himself chooses to fucking lose, which obviously we'll talk about later, that's a different story. But the referee himself doesn't really have any say other than letting it go on a little longer or stopping it a little
I
early. And the reason I bring that up, or if you go back, because thinking about Jason not being in on it, when you go back to Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw, uh, the referee fucking knew. Like, he knew that TJ's arm was gonna like pop out of his shoulder. He told him backstage, like, "Hey, my arm's gonna like pop out of its socket, but don't stop the fight. I want to keep going." Like, that's what, like, obviously, if a referee sees a fighter's arm like out of their socket, like in any other situation, but without knowing prior information, like, you're stopping the fight kind of deal. But in that situation, he knew beforehand and then continued to let the fight go on. And then we as betters bet a man who has one arm in a fight to win, like, so things like that. I don't necessarily know. There's just a lot to question. I mean,
that
I'm not the
and
one investigating it, I guess.
Right. Well, and you're like, the line of like your thought process and the thing that you just said is why this is so like widespread and nebulous. Like, why this is something that it has so many different elements to it, because it's like, there, think of all of the things that we talk about when it comes to a fight: the referee, the fighters, the commission, the organizations, all of those playing. It's like when you start multiplying numbers, it's like it just exponentially start, you two times two, and then you go up from there, and it just becomes like, into the millions and billions. Like, all of those factors and all of the micro factors that go into this, it's now everything under a microscope. And it's like, who's to know what was when, what this, that, and the other. It's like, how then when that's what they said when he came out and said, oh, 100 fights are being audited. I'm like, what 100 fights, and like, what are you auditing for exactly? Are you going to sit there and pinpoint, be like, that was the fix, that was the thing? It's like, how could you? And like, there's so much to consider with this.
I think you know what's crazy, and the people they don't really want to ask the right questions. You know, they want to look at the fighters, which yeah, Isaac Dulgarian is guilty. They want to look at the referees, which Jason Herzog potentially could be guilty for stopping fights early or late. I mean, that's his job, literally, is to try to find that gray area. But the people that are not actually being questioned or investigated, which I think the ones we are seemingly forgetting that we get screwed over every week by, is those goddamn judges.
The
And we see it
judges,
we
yep.
see it this week too. Like they literally are just they don't care. They can get away with whatever they want. Who knows who's paying them, you know? Like fucking I've seen Sal Tomato and Mike Bell get so many fights to judge and they blatantly get it wrong. And now Jason Herzog's the bad guy. Seems like we're throwing a little dust in the wind here.
No,
What's
but
going on?
you're making the exact point. Add that to the list of what I just said before. There's so much that goes into these things, and how do you know any which one of any which thing is the thing? I mean, because that's the biggest issue. Like, obviously, if you can exactly pinpoint one thing and say that is a fix, then automatically that person, that whatever the set of circumstances that come with that, there you go, that's a cut and dry issue in that. But if you can't definitively put that into terms and say, there you go, I can down to the nanometer pinpoint that this was the fix itself, then it's all this thing of like, I mean, I know how it looks from the outside, but how can you prove it?
Okay, here's my last point, and this goes back to I think it might have been Hydra or Beeb. They talked about Irene Alexieva popping before the fight. They let her go to the fight. They then banned her, for the illegal substance, and then she was able to appeal and get a no contest because of the way that they handled the situation. They let her fight, knowing that she was literally on the performance enhancing drugs. Obviously, we saw that with Muhammad Usman kind of deal. It's like he's literally been competing. You're going to tell me he popped a while ago, but he just wasn't on it at before or after? I mean, incorrect. That's just not how that works. So, because when you look at something like that, that was my initial question when I heard people on Twitter talking about the line, and I actually want to talk about this before we get into the actual. I saw the
Go
initial.
talk at length, because
Well,
these fights are not as
no,
interesting.
well, no. The fight. Before we get into the fights, I'll give the MMA guru his props here. I got
Sure.
on Twitter, and he was the first thing that I saw talking about this line movement, and I thought, guru talking about something. I mean, probably not the most, but then you keep scrolling and then more and more is coming out. And so back to the Alexiva thing and the Muhammad Usman thing, my initial thought was, did we do a pre fight screening here? Did Mr. Diwale, did he piss really, really hot or something? Like, do we know that this dude is coming in on something? Was my initial instinct, because who throws a fight in today's game? Who doesn't have enough pride? Whose ego is actually beside them? So that was my initial thought, and I don't think that is the case anymore after upon researching and further information coming out. But and of course that this our Cuban gentleman does not seem like he was in on the fix at all. So
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, sure, that there again, still the questions remain, but you bring up a good point with that. I mean, it's like this is a career suicide doing this. I mean,
mm,
regardless of the outcomes of all of this, with the further repercussions of the FBI and all of that involved, in the sport, you are done. I mean, Isaac Dulgarian is 29 years old. He is out. He is not going to ever fight. Derek Minner, who was involved with the James Krause incident. That was the fighter that was in the fight that was the fix in that one. Hasn't fought since. He is never going to. He is banned from any commission ever taking him in and taking a fight in the United States at the very least. I don't even know if he's allowed to compete internationally if he wanted to.
mm,
So that being said, it's like because that's what Dana's whole thing was always back when the Krause incident happened, was like, you are his point was there's not enough money to make it worthwhile. we know what these fighters get paid. I'm sure that there's somebody who could make it worth their while. That being said, though, you have to be double, triple, quadruple sure that you don't want to fight again, because that's it. And you are looking at massive repercussions thereafter.
The key that you're also the key right there is it's not that they make so little, like any amount that they could gamble on a fight would be worth it. It's like you guys don't understand how much money could be made off of fixing a fight on today's sports book.
Of
When you
course.
have something that is a plus 900 and you put 50 grand or something on it, and then it tanks the line down to plus 200. I mean, whoever just got that line between the plus 700 range there, I mean, and you put more than $100, I mean, you were profiting good fucking money there. And not only is it not even a gamble because you know what the fuck's gonna happen, it is it that's that's your opportunity. You think DB Cooper status, I'm about to rob Vegas and I'm just done, I'm off the grid. So it has to be life-changing money, and in today's era, you can actually do that when you fix a fucking fight, apparently,
Well,
so
that's the thing, though, is that you can't, right? I mean,
true.
obviously, like Isaac Dulgarian is not going to be flying back to Denver, and then all of a sudden he disappears into the forest and is never heard from again,
Eh,
especially under these circumstances. You know?
what I think is actually key to note is the money got locked up. I mean, this dude didn't get paid. The Vegas didn't pay out these books. I mean, maybe they did and we just don't know, but I mean, all of this kind of scrutiny around the situation, it does not seem like any money was actually being moved after so whatever you want to say, like I said, his opportunity to make it big and get his one off and then be done with the sport of mixed martial arts. I mean, is he that dumb? Like, I mean, it's the digital world now. I mean, we took a while to find a person with cameras, a gunman. I'm not going to go too crazy into it, but like as of right now, you can trace digital wires and shit like that. It's not even tracing at that point. It's account information, and you put your social security number in, and they know where the money's going. And mysteriously, if you just hit a fucking $1 million on a first round finish of a big underdog, I mean, skepticism is gonna rise, and
Oh
you are
yeah.
not getting that fucking money, brother.
I mean, the if you, again, with stuff I was covering in the video, I mean, there were Hard Rock specifically was the example that I had for the video. It was like five ridiculously large bets. You don't think that they have a system in place to flag that instantly? I mean, this is common knowledge stuff that's not going to fly.
Now we're going to actually get into the conspiracies talk of it, and I think this is where it gets more interesting. So CT ESPN
I
brings up
saw
that
that.
the
Yes.
NBA and the NFL are going through scandals as well. What I think is key to note is the NBA potentially is the scandals that they are in is, from what I'm hearing, I'm obviously not too big in the loop, is affiliated with the mafia and or the mob. So when it comes to this sport, it is an international gameplay kind of deal. You have people from all over these regions. A lot of different people can make a lot of different types of money, especially with sports gambling. And if they can somehow get into the region where they can gamble on their favorite guy and the fight is fixed or whatever, I mean, they're gonna walk away with so fucking much compared to what I don't know. There's just too many things that are going on here that is just crazy to think about, and lucrative amounts of money, but too many different regions. And if the mafia and the mob is tied in for one of them with the NBA somehow, some way, who's to say the cartel bring back to Yakuza? Who knows what is actually going on with a lot of these different deep sector groups, whatever you want to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, then that goes back to your point about, like, the lines moving that dramatically, and where that money is coming from, the organizations behind it. Yeah, it can be as simple as your brother's cousin, your actual brother itself. It could be you yourself. I mean, it can go anywhere from the individual all the way up to something as big as organized crime. So, and then the money can also scale with that as well.
So, would you believe that when they say investigation, would anybody that's even closely related to Isaac Dulgarian, I mean, it could be a dude that he grew up with, that he decided to put $200 on that day because I just, not Isaac, but Diwali, for example, the winner of that matchup, he decided that this is my guy. Are the FBI going to go interrogate everybody that bet first round finish for Diwali out in Cuba? I don't think that's how that works. But
You
these are
make a
also
good point.
people. These are where does the line draw between the people who actually believed that he could win in the first round? Because there are people who are genuinely delusional when it comes to their favorite fighters and their biases of the sport. I mean, who could you tell that he didn't believe? Like, you wouldn't be able to tell me Josh Van's not going to finish Pantoja in the first round. I don't care who you are, FBI, CIA, Men in Black. I
Well,
mean,
I
come
think
on.
that this also goes to Beeb's question here. Beeb asking if the Hard Rock disclosed the amounts that caused the flagging. They did not, at least not to my knowledge, anyway. But I
Too
think the
many
answer,
zeros to fit on a tweet.
and that's what I was going to say to you, is that I think that the difference there is that you as a supportive person for your guy is not going to be putting down $250,000 necessarily. I mean, you could, if you're Drake, you can, I guess, but and if you, I think it's not necessarily any one person though. That's the thing, is that it's the amount, because the way that I understood this situation as it was unfolding was that once, like, there are people who, especially in the betting world, with how like how widespread and how, like, people have gotten so deep into it, that will sit there and watch the line move as the before the fights, as it's going. I mean, I had that little graphic in the video that had to come from somewhere of the line movement. So it's like, it's when something massive happens and the rest of the world starts getting wrapped up into it, that's when it starts to really alert the flag. So I guess what you do is you go to the nexus of the entry point of that. You go to the beginning of all of that, the genesis of it. Like, where were the large bets that started this snowball effect? Because yeah, you see that the line has dramatically changed after it's already been changing. You're like, well, shit, I'll throw $100 on that. Not going to necessarily be anything what we're talking about here. But if you started it with $250,000, $500,000, that, I guess, maybe is where they start doing a little bit more of the investigation. But you're right. I mean, this is also why it's so hard to know right now, without any further information, what is going to come from all of this. Because you're right. Now it's not just Isaac Dulgarian, it's Del Valle, it's all of their teams. I would think that the entire network of all of these people have to be
All the
investigated.
fans watching, you guys are all included. That entire arena is getting a subpoena. I don't care what you guys think. I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think, but you're right. Where do you draw the line? I guess is the real question. Because I mean, we'll talk about the main event too, or certain questions in the main event, perhaps. Isaac Dulgarian and David Onama, both Factory X. Mark Montoya, I would think, is probably a little hot under the collar right now for how much heat is probably going to be coming down on that gym. Same way that Glory MMA, James Krause's gym, no longer has fighters in the UFC anymore. I mean, Factory X is a big gym, dude. I mean, they graduate a lot of fighters. Factory X.
okay. All
So
right. Well, I am hearing you. I think this will be very interesting to see what happens. But I think the unfortunate thing about this one is this is not a big enough incident where it's like, oh, we can pull the, I want to see the global court case card, like the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Like, that's not even close to what we'll be able to get for something like this, because nobody cares about Isaac fucking Dulgarian at the end of the day. But this situation is big enough that I want to keep a tab on. But the issue is, judicial systems take very long. This is going to be like 5 years, and like, this is going to be so long before we actually get results.
Well, and that's what I was saying about the James Krause thing possibly still being an ongoing,
Yeah,
in some variation of the process or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to go on for a while. I mean, but really, it's not about Isaac Dulgarian anymore. I mean, what we are talking about with the possibility of Jason Herzog, still speculation on all of that, of course, but the possibility of that. The other fights that could have been fixed, the fact that the UFC knew about this goes a lot bigger and farther than the James Krause situation.
I really hope it is a lot bigger of a scandal that was caught like the moment. Like, I what I'm hoping is, because Beeb makes up a great point, and this is my idea here. We're all five bets placed around the same time, same location. No, here's what I think happened. They had a plan. They were going to send five people to five different locations in the United States. They were going to all place the bets around different times. They probably had ball caps on over their eyes so the cameras didn't see them, anything like that. And then they still got caught, like the moment that it happened. Like, I think that would be the better part of it, is like they had this grandiose mastermind plan. Isaac Dulgarian thought about it in his fucking car or something,
I
and then got caught immediately.
And I mean, that it's certainly very Hollywood-esque way to think about it, but I think that there's a much simpler explanation for all of it. Crypto.
Oh,
Crypto gambling is huge. And one my book prefers you to use crypto. They give you an incentive to use crypto. You get like a 5% bonus or whatever, for placing your money through crypto on it. So I mean, trace the wallets. Yes, the technology is good with that now. I mean, there are like crypto investigators. Get the guy that investigated Hamzat's pump and dump to jump on this perhaps. But I mean, but still the fact remains. You're right. It's much harder to. It's still anonymous. You don't know where those are coming in from. VPNs, fucking dark web. I mean, there's so much that goes into the way that money moves now. I don't know if you're going to end up getting much of a legitimate conclusion to this, and certainly not something like what you're describing, although that would be awesome if it is.
Yeah, what I think also to note is money isn't real anymore, guys. The amount of money that was being moved here, that was going to be made here, doesn't even exist. I mean, it's neat. None of these people, and none of us physically have the amount that was going to be transferred to these people's bank accounts after this win. But thankfully, it didn't happen because we were going to have to go lifetimes knowing, like, in America, once again, if you're a good enough criminal, you can get away with it and live a happy life. But thankfully, I'm not going to be the fun ruiner here because I love, listen, I'd love $1 million to fucking tell you to fucking lose the fight, but that's not how it goes. I'm a hard worker. We got to work for these things. Davale, we're going to talk about you here in a little bit, buddy, but we got to work for these things. And Dulgarian, yeah, you got removed, buddy. You got exited out of the UFC very, very quickly. Surprised that, like, I'm confused on if they knew before the fight and the FBI. Like, I love these big terms. When people throw FBI around, it's like real shit. Like, seriously, men in black are coming for you. But how did he get out the arena? I mean, if the FBI was in on this like 40 minutes to an hour before the fight started, I mean, there was some windows they could have rappelled through or something. Like, where's the SWAT teams?
I mean, because that's the thing, though, is that it's like, what exactly are you taking him in for? Losing a fight? I mean, because what you're saying is, oh, it's for the fix. But again, you have to have all of those pieces in place. Now, if they had that information to say that the line was moving, then that could be a smoking gun. But is that necessarily 100% something that you can pin on a person to say that this is enough for, to build a case around? I mean, now they're going to have to build the case thereafter. They're picking up the pieces after the fact. But that's why I'm saying that this is even bigger than the James Krause incident, because we're going to have to see how the UFC fits into this. Because if they knew ahead of time, I would say that there is some level of complicity in that. I mean, they were complacent in letting this fight go on. That's Ariel Helwani's point. He was like, if you had any inkling, apparently, because what Helwani said is that they went backstage before the fight and talked to the team and talked to Dulgarian, said, we're seeing some suspicious action on this fight. Is everything okay? Dulgarian said, everything is fine. I'm going to go in there and fight like I normally do. I don't know what this is about. I guess he basically threw his hands up. I don't have any idea. Went out and did what he did. So if you had the inkling and then the outcome was as expected, where, you know what I'm saying? Like, where is that? Where do you fall in that? Is this akin to allowing someone drunk to, not take their keys away when they're going to drive? I mean, like, I don't, like, that's maybe not exactly the correct analogy, but something along where do you put it? You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's a subjective thing.
Yeah, no, this one is definitely crazy, and like I said, we're just gonna have to wait to see what comes of it. I don't know. This one is genuinely interesting. I think there's some more interesting things to talk about, but I want to wait to talk about them for the fight time, or do we just want to talk about the fight itself? Because the fight itself had some interesting things too. I think that is more key to note. People want to talk about. A key thing that was made is it wasn't the performance itself, it was what happened before the performance and then the performance. It's
Right.
not just that he went out there and didn't perform, because when I'm watching the fight, I mean, the way that he got a double leg instantly and then magically did not have, like, he just let him sprawl out of it, was very interesting. Because this is you got to remember, when I started watching the fight, I'm like, this dude might have popped. Like, they might know that he's like 10 times fucking stronger than this guy now. And that's what I thought I saw at first. I'm like, holy shit, this dude just had a double leg. He pivoted and then just broke and sprawled every exchange after that. When Dulgarian had him up against the cage and then bro was pulling his arm, like,
All right.
I'm like,
Well,
what? I'm watching
say,
a superhuman.
Yeah,
Like, okay.
let's get into the
Okay,
fights though,
okay,
because we have
okay.
been talking this through for a while, and I know, obviously chat has a whole lot of opinions about it. We'll keep the show moving along. We'll go through the earlier fights. You know that it's coming up soon, so let that be a teaser there to start off. Whet
A
your
30
appetite
minute
for
teaser.
pretty much. Well, I mean, or at least that part of it to go into the actual mechanics of the fight, because I of course have some opinions about all of that as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
stick around, guys. We'll go through the rest of it. Obviously, this is the biggest story of this card, so we will certainly get to that. And kind of crazy that this is what it is now, because it is also overshadowing the co-main event, which we will talk about too. But we'll get to all of that in due time. So let's get into this card a little bit. This is UFC Fight Night, Garcia versus Onama. This took place at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Going into this card, what were your thoughts, Chase?
Um,
before all of what you know now.
So going into this one, for a while we kept joking about this card, like, oh my god, we have hell coming up. These next two Apex cards, it's like we were gifted a couple good cards, and then now these Apex cards are just brutal. But no, this one going into it, when you look at the names, you could see like this is talented people, but clearly they're inconsistent for some reason because they're on the apex. Like these are people who have definitely been around and proven themselves, but they can't be trusted on a pay-per-view yet, I guess. Like that's the way that I was seeing it. Or they've been on a pay-per-view and it's like, okay, we know you got to come back down, brother. So that's the kind of what the vibes that I was getting here, especially like no, yeah, that's definitely what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, especially after we talked it through last episode, because I was like, the main event I always thought was going to be, it didn't end up being that, but in my mind, at least coming into this, I was like, regardless of what else, we're going to get a really good main event out of this. And I was just very happy that Steve Garcia was finally getting his chance to shine in a main event. But you're right about the rest of the card, especially knowing the names and then like the matchups that they were having. It was like, yeah, there's a lot of like, if you follow the sport, there are a lot of decently known names, but like, why is this the makeup of it? And I think that now after watching it, we know why.
Yeah. Yep. So this
So
one,
yeah,
was definitely interesting to be able to watch. I was excited to get into it.
yeah. So let's start it off here. This is Talita Alankar versus Irene Carnelosi. I mean, yeah, this was a pretty solid performance for Alankar, and Carnelosi essentially fighting the same way that she generally does, which is being pretty built for nothing, as far as I can tell.
When you were watching Talita Alencar in the first and second round, did you think she like up until the end of the second round, the first half of this fight, were you a believer that she was going to win? Just
Not after she almost got submitted in the first.
yeah. So I was very confident that she has leveled up her game. That she, I don't know if
Oh,
you
I'm sorry.
remember
I'm
when we
sorry. You're
spoke.
talking about you were talking about Carnelosi. You're talking about Alan Carr. Sorry.
Alencar,
Oh,
Alencar.
yes. No, no. Yeah. I thought that Alan Carr was doing pretty well throughout the entirety of this thing.
Well, let me go over my thought
Yeah. Yeah.
process
Please.
because if you remember last week, I was very big on Talita Alencar finally making that level up. She didn't have the cardio, and then she tied her cardio into her last fight, and she was able to get a really good performance. And I thought she was going to come out here and do a very very easy session on Carnelosi, and it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be because the first round and a half, I mean, I was sitting here saying like, wow, like no, I was wrong. Like you are gonna be. This is why you're on the apex, like because you took a step back. But then at the end of the second round, she goes for that choke and she almost gets it, and I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling it. You slowed your game up. She at first she would be a ball of energy in the first, and then she would run her gas tank out. By the third round, she's crawling around the mat. Now takes the first round ish off, at least to a point where it's making me at the time making me question like, okay, come on, let's get it into gear. But now I see she's evolving a little more than I gave her credit for. She's doing. I mean, Carnelosi, she had a good first round, little front runner because she's big and muscular, but obviously gas. I mean, gas tank is going to be horrible with a frame like that. And Alan Carr is, uh, it's not necessarily a veteran move because it's another non-prospect, but like she's not blowing the gas tank in the first round anymore. That's just what's key here. I mean, she was able to go through the second round, not look great, but then at the end almost get that finish, and then in the third round go ahead and get the same finish. It was almost out of time, and I probably wouldn't be talking about it this much anymore. But And sometimes I do criticize, like if you want to talk about the psycho girl taking 3 rounds to finish a girl, but she was playing with her food at that point. I think Talita Alencar is different in a way. It's like she needs to actually, she's got to warm up before she's really good to go, because if she doesn't, she's just going to run all of her energy out in the first, and then somebody who's able to weather that storm is easily going to take her to 3 and go to the judge's decision. So easy. But
True.
this one was good.
Yeah, no, I wanted to highlight this because it sort of I got a couple of those facts wrong early on, and I think that CTE kind of has my feelings on that is that I watched this fight and remember legitimately nothing. No, I do remember it. I did watch it and you rewatch it, of course, so I do remember it now. But yeah, I think you're correct in Alan Carr improving. I think that she is not improving fast enough, and is what I'm seeing because Carnellosi, this is the exact level of the fighter that you should be able to do this to, what she would eventually do in the third round, that she should be doing quicker. As you're saying, she needs to be able to get to the game plan a little bit quicker. Now, granted, I mean, Carnellosi was clinching her up a whole lot in that first round. They were do-si-doing a whole lot on the cage with the clinching. So it's not like Alan Carr could have necessarily counteracted all of that, but I think that like you can tell that the pieces are there, but like at this point, you're starting to get a little bit higher in your experience level. Now 7-1, 7-1-1. This is the time where like the cream needs to start separating. You know what I'm saying? Like she needs to start being able to do these things, have the instincts to do these things quicker, and just to be sharp, because when you have the underlying instinct, that's when you can be more versatile and adapt quicker and be able to navigate fights more effectively. And if you're taking a lot of time to get to that point, you're denying yourself the ability to be more dynamic.
Listen, I think I'm gonna go ahead and listen. Talita Alencar, I am obviously a Stephanie Luciano stan, so you are not my favorite. But I will go ahead and put my neck out for you and say this: any improvement is better than none. She is still showing that she's willing to learn and get better. She also showed, even in her contender series matchup and in her debut or her rematch with Stephanie Luciana, it wasn't her debut, but in her rematch, that she gasses and she was tired. Not anymore, but she wasn't willing to quit. She at least was finishing the fight. I've seen people I've seen people quit on the stool lately. So Talita Alencar, you may not have all of what you need to be a champion right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that you might be a decent little prospect. I'm gonna take a rank by the end of next year. I got that.
I'm with that. I'm with that. I think that it's certainly possible. Because really, I mean, if it is incremental improvement, then there's nothing to say that won't continue to be the case. So keep
Mhm.
doing what you're doing, keep getting better, and just get a little bit more quick to the draw, a little bit better with the instincts. Kind of embed it in your being as a fighter, and I don't see why that couldn't be a possibility. On the other side of this, though, I think that Carnellosi has to go. I mean, what I definitely did get correct in my initial assessment of all of this when we started talking about it was that Carnellosi, A, is not improved, and B, she's got the physique that would give you the impression that she could hold her own in the cage, but she does not have the surrounding elements of a sound, structurally and a structurally sound fighter. She does not have those things. Like she has the upper body strength perhaps, but not the technique to back that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, she's awful.
I hate to say it as bluntly as that, but it certainly seems to be the case. Also, I think both of us failed to mention that Alan Carr had a specific need to win this fight, and as commentary let us know, it was because she is fighting to keep her work visa. So obviously, she was going to win this one. Keep at it. Keep working hard. Keep that visa in place.
I love when the commentary just says something just useless, but it's not useless because like it's cool just to be like, that's interesting. I don't know if you were there for it, because you were, but the moment that Nazrat Hakparas got knocked out, the moment before that, John Anik goes, his family owned a bakery, and then he gets annihilated. Yeah, it is awesome.
I was going to say that the visa thing was very much an anarchism for
Yeah.
sure. But
Yep.
yeah, so anyway, good performance for Alan Carr. I do agree with you. I think that there's nothing to say that she couldn't be ranked at some point, especially at strawweight.
100%.
So all right, let's keep the train moving here to a pitiful performance. I mean, there's really no two ways about this one. This is Phil Rowe versus Seok Young Ko. Uh, Phil Rowe, I mean, this look for the first two rounds of this thing, we were saying, oh, this looked exactly like his last fight, except he didn't have the third round comeback that he did in his last fight.
Yeah, no, this one is absolutely crazy, chat. I want you to go ahead and put an F in the chat for Phil Rowe and put a W if you thought that Co was just going to lay on him the entire time, because I definitely did. I
Well,
definitely did. So
this was certainly, as we had said on the previous episode, Korean Tyson continues to make his nickname an ironic one. Bro is bait and switching with this nickname.
hear me out.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily going to say I'm cooking, but this is just from what I'm seeing. We've seen a leveling up with a lot of Japanese grapplers, okay? And I know he's Korean. Hear me out. Japanese grapplers going out here and they're low key taking over. And you guys may not want to accept it, but the Japanese grapplers, they're going to be coming up soon. From what I'm seeing, most of the Koreans that we have, and I've said this before, these are strikers. These are these guys that go out here and finish or be finished on the feet. But as of now, we are getting this new evolution of Koreans that come in here and grapple, and they are pretty damn good at it. Soo Young Yu is another good option there. Um, Suk Young Ko he's a decent little grappler. I mean, the Iron Turtle has good grappling, but he's not necessarily somebody that is the grapple heavy, kind of guy. He's always going to try to strike with you. But these next level, these grapple Koreans that we're seeing, I mean, Suk Young Ko is like a not even just a lay and pray. I mean, he is, but like he's not the come on do work type of dude. Like he's actually doing enough that you can't stand them up. I mean, Phil Rowe was just horrible on the mat, and the fact that he got Phil Rowe after doing it to Oban Elliott is a major step down in not just competition but like a UFC relevance. I mean, you beat Oban Elliott, it's like, okay, what's next ranked? It's like, no, Phil Rowe. Okay, like obviously he's winning here like crazy.
Well, Phil Rowe, the reason that this is so crazy to me is that Phil Rowe is a flow grappling guy. I mean, like he's one of those dudes that touts himself as being the grapple dude. They were saying it on the commentary before while he was walking in. It's like you want to take this to the mat. You're coming into my world. It's like apparently not. Apparently you're going directly into his, man. I mean, belly of the beast is where you stayed. This was I mean, I hate to say it. Phil Rowe is he's a local guy. Phil Rowe, trains not too far from where I am broadcasting
They
from
need to pick
right
a
now.
different gym.
Perhaps, I guess. I mean, but whatever the case may be, I'm just saying, it brings me no joy to have to say that this was an absolutely pathetic performance from Phil Rowe. Really, really bad.
Why are you acting like this wasn't the performance? Like, I mean, I know you started off with saying, like, yeah, we're seeing the same performance as last time, but like now you're saying it's like pitiful and like, this and that. I don't know if you said pitiful, whatever you want to say, but like this was exactly what I thought Phil Rowe was going to be. Like, this was normal. This was the normal Phil Rowe performance that I like.
Well, where was the third round comeback?
Yeah, that's your one off. Like that's you living off a dream here. Like you watched it one time and it's like boom, it could happen. It's like, well, the other two rounds of that fight, what happens to one, like I even said it in the thing. It's like Angelosa is a dude who's just gonna hold you down, but Suk Young Ko is a dude who's gonna hold you down and beat you up a little bit. So by the time that you're in the third round and he's gassed a little bit, you have been, pounded on for 3 rounds. You don't want to get up anymore. Angelos he's going to let you up because he hasn't done anything for 3 rounds. Suk Young Ko, on the other hand, I mean, 124 strikes. I mean, and you can tell, I mean, the accuracy, there was no standing strikes here. These are all just little baby hammer fists to him and elbows. And like, yeah, Phil Rowe landed 11 fucking strikes. Like, that's just, I don't know.
Well,
Crazy.
you say that these were all ground strikes. The majority of them certainly were, but that was my other point was that the problem, because what I would say to all of that is that if Phil Rowe had success in the last fight on the feet in that third round, then maybe when this round starts, the third round, he tries it again. But the problem was that Ko actually was doing pretty okay on the feet for the very small amount of time that it was. Now, granted, it was only a very short amount of time. I think in the second round that he came out and did a little bit of striking, and I think he had a good kick in there as well. It was enough to be like, okay, well, if I can't stand with this guy and this is happening on the ground, then method of victory is question mark.
You know, this dude gets 4 takedowns and shoots 4 takedowns, and then he holds you down for 13 minutes of a 15-minute bout. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, you couldn't you couldn't stop one. You couldn't get up once, basically. Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, and this is why what I said. It's like these are the people you can't trust to be on a pay per view. It's like after Phil Rowe got a third round knockout, it'd be like that'd be nice to think he could go do that in the limelights. You put him on the apex, and what's happened? And what happens
Yeah.
exactly? The same thing that was probably going to happen in the limelights, as he was going to get mopped by a random. And that's not to say Suck Young Ko is a random, but he is. I mean, he's somebody who just got here making big name for himself. Like I said, he's not somebody that's gonna attract a lot of the spotlight or a lot of attention. The nickname would lead you to believe that he's just some global superstar, Korean Tyson. No, he's not. He's just a grappler that nobody's ever going to think about until he's got an opportunity that's just out of the blue. And Su Young Yu, I think, is the same way as well. It's like they just fight the same way. Like they just grapple, they just hold you down and do enough that the ref can't stand it up, and you can't get out from underneath them. And then apparently people just choose to be underneath them the entire time. So that's just, if that's the case, I mean, a ranked opponent again is coming soon. You've already beat Oban Elliott. Like, I mean, that's, you got two more opponents that they're going to give you cans probably before we ever see somebody who's the level of Oban Elliott, like as an opponent for him, I think, which is crazy to think about.
Nah, I mean, maybe. I guess maybe based on the performance and the style, perhaps you might have something there. But no, I think really it's part of the problem is that with the language barrier, it's hard for them to sell themselves and to separate themselves from the rest of the pack to an
Well, they get
extent.
translators from China, so
Right? Yeah, that doesn't help either, does it? But yeah, no, I mean, this is why the Apex cards and all fight nights are still important because you're seeing these guys come up and get their early wins. So hopefully, when they become something bigger, that you'll know about them. But I think that really the issue with the nickname goes to a bigger, broader issue that anybody who has that type of nickname has been very underwhelming. Russian Ronda,
mhm.
if you recall, not very quality either. So maybe we stop appointing the names of other greats. What was there was the guy named Muhammad Ali on the Contender Series just recently. Didn't do so hot, did he?
Yeah, no, he got finished. Yeah,
Exactly. So maybe this should be a lesson to everyone out there when applying nicknames. Maybe come up with something original as opposed to trying to ride a wave.
and to be fair, Muhammad Ali was not his nickname. That was his name, so
That is true. You do make a good point there. That was his given name. You are
yeah.
right.
But
Um,
mom out there listening, think better. I mean,
it,
he got finished. I mean, you gotta. I don't know.
exactly. Look, you kind of doomed him from birth off of that.
Yeah,
So
I wouldn't go
anyway.
out here and name my kid Dale Earnhardt. Like crazy.
Yeah, setting them up for a potential downfall perhaps. But DC was eating this fight up though. I did want to just mention that before we move on. This
Oh, we're
very
gonna talk about him here in a little bit.
I'm sure. But yeah, this was just funny to me because of all of the top pressure was just DC was sitting there just glazing the hell out of this amazing performance for which was a lot of laying and
Yeah,
groundwork. But anyway, great solid win for him. He deserved it. 100% down the line. The 30-26 in here. I think 30-24 might have been appropriate. And so, I mean, Phil
if
Rowe
one
did.
of those rounds was a 10-8, I mean, they were all the same. Like,
That was literally going to be the point. It's like, which round did you pick to be the 10-8? If I mean, they all were very much the same. It was one long round of that. So
mhm, yeah,
anyway, Phil Rowe, back to the drawing board. If that, considering that he is now 11-6. Yikes.
facts.
Moving on. Alice Ardillion versus Montserrat Conejo Ruiz. This is your girl Alice, who looked pretty solid in her striking on this one. I was happy that I have started to evolve my thought process based on a lot of what you've been saying about Alice. Actually, I was like, Chase has been believing in her. He's making a little bit more of a believer out of me. I knew that Montserrat, spotty at best. Not, I mean, she was pretty tough in this fight, though. I do give her credit, but I was like, I think that I've seen enough improvement and enough of Alice at this point to back that horse, and I was glad that I did.
Yeah, this one, Alice. Listen, Alice is good. Obviously, unanimous decision is very, very good. Love to see it.
Thirty twenty
But
seven as well,
but
across the board,
sh
rather.
but she is, unfortunately, she's one of these women who's not the best, right? She's obviously not the best in the division. She's never going to be. But the way that she fights is as as ruthless as they come. I mean, she's going to take shots to give shots. But the problem is when you're not the best in the division, sometimes the shots are going to be a lot faster, a lot more powerful, and you're going to lose. And the beginning of this first round, Alice was eating a lot of shots, and I was like, oh God, no way is this Hobbit gonna like destroy my girl. And to be fair, she put up a really good fight. Like it was a 30-27, which all the rounds were like, it wasn't like close, but like, it wasn't far off. She wasn't dominating her. Like there were times where she would step in and like, she'd get her head snapped back a little bit from a shot from Miss Ruiz. And shout out to Ruiz, like you said, she's a tough girl. She was defending takedowns, shot at 6 takedowns apparently. I don't remember any of those, but Alice, just a tough girl, really hard to put away. She looks really old in the face. I hate when when they do her, when they're introducing her, I'm like looking at her, I'm like, aren't you like 20 something, 30 something? Like, geez, Alice, like, where are we going here? Because the OF model, my queen over here, she's just, she's ruthless. And I don't know. It's just
Uh,
sometimes I'm just questioning what's going on here.
I think that people are not so focused on her face.
You know what? Listen, guys, if you are out there and you are an only fan of Miss Alice Ardoyan, let me know how the face shots are looking. I know we are plenty worried about how her face is looking on those sites. So if you guys are out there, let me know. Figure it out.
Fair. Yeah, yeah, I thought that you're definitely right. This was a close fight for a 30-27 for sure. The numbers don't tell the story of this fight 100%. I would say I thought that Montserrat was definitely doing pretty good work. I think that you might have been able to possibly give her one of these rounds, but it's hard because of how like very close they were all like right there at that like at the limit of being able to push over for her. So it's like I probably maybe one judge might have thrown her a bone would have been appropriate, but this was good work for Alice overall. I thought both women were a little heavy on their feet. Alice has decent power, but she could stand to up her volume a little bit, is what I've kind of been getting out of her. Like she's definitely will walk forward. She definitely will throw the shots when she knows that she has them. I would like to see a little bit more of the combinations putting together, like a little bit faster movement might be nice if she can muster that. But she was really just hanging with her. I think that's the big takeaway from this is that she was like, okay, if this is the type of fight that we're going to have, I'll meet you halfway and push past it a little bit further. And she did that. And to your point about the takedown attempts, I did have in the notes that like Ruiz was just lazy with her takedown attempts. I said, if you'd think that if she was getting a fight like this where it was at the very least I would assume that her corner was saying like this is a pretty close fight. She's got to know that off of what she's seeing in the fight herself. You would think that she would have been trying to commit to those a little bit more, but not really. I mean, she was doing the whole like feint dip for the leg and then just kind of going away from it. So I think that maybe she might have just been getting a little bit overwhelmed and not really trying to rely on that. Maybe she was just a little bit more comfortable in the striking and that was what she was going to stick with, but that ended up being the downfall, I guess.
Did you notice her tattoos?
Oh, I love her tattoos. That's why initially why I thought that she was going to possibly be something. Not only the neck tattoo, that's what everybody notices, but she has Captain Spaulding from the Devil's Rejects tattooed on her leg. I love her.
Okay, so yeah, so the ones on her legs, if Captain Spaulding is one of them. The other one is, I think it's Doink the Clown, not Doink. That's a fucking WWE
But
fighter.
yeah, I was going to say, but
Oh, there's she's got the
but
original
Pennywise,
Pennywise.
yeah,
Yes, she's
from
got the original Pennywise, and then whatever the fucking dude is from Terrifier. She's got him too.
Art the Clown. Yes, indeed.
That's his name, not Doink. Everybody, don't look up Doink and think you're gonna find a fun or a scary clown.
No, yeah, no, she's a little alt fighter, I can dig it. I mean, again, yeah, that was something that certainly stood out to me initially, but you got to make the fights even up to that. You can only get away with being the cool alt tattooed fighter for so long if you're not winning the fights.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Alice. I mean, once again, she's the only one. And listen, and I don't mind her being the representation that Romania has because she genuinely does represent them well. She comes in here and fights like an animal. I mean, like that's truly what you can ask for as a fighter who shows up and wants to fight and is active and is not just here because we know she's an OnlyFans model. we know she could just go make money off her. I mean, maybe she doesn't make that much money off of it. Maybe that's why she fights. I don't know. But like, she's here because she likes to fight. And like, that's what we want out of people. We could ask for that certain, that aspect of a personality from certain champions. We will get into this, but Alice Ardoyan is a true warrior, and I do respect everything that she does. Like, she's truly one of my favorites, especially from Romania, because we'll have to talk about her counterpart of Romania here in a little
I
bit.
was just going to say, yeah, I'm sure that compared to the other Romanian on the card, Romania is very happy for Alice as well.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, next up, another ladies' fight here. This was Norma Dumont versus Ketlin Vieira. This was some people thinking that this was a little bit of a crazy one. Your thoughts here, Chase?
This was fucking bullshit, bro. Like, this is what I was talking about with the judges. When I was talking about in the rant about the judges need to be also in this investigation, I'm looking right at this motherfucking fight right here. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how did Norma do? Like, okay, when you want to talk about Mackenzie Dern and Virna, it's like, okay, Mackenzie was landing elbows off her back. Okay, well, fuck was Norma Dumont doing here? I mean, I don't remember her doing a goddamn thing off her back. She was get Ketlin was doing so good with the wrestling. Obviously, she's consistent. Like, that's what we expect from her. That's why she's in my opinion, she's top of the division, because she consistently gives a dominating performance, and it's not something that is like an on-off switch where she's going to have an off night. She put up a good performance against Kayla Harrison. You know, this is somebody who's a consistent buy when it comes to a decision win. I obviously was thinking a finish could be likely, and maybe she'll show some dog, get her name back in there. But no, she went to decision again, and this is exactly what bites her in the ass. And it sucks because I thought you won this fight. I mean, as I thought she won this fight very easily. Like, I'm pretty sure this is one of those ones where it's like, all right, I'm going to the bathroom, and because like I'm gonna come back and she's gonna be talking. But I come back and I'm looking at Norma Dumont, and this is how you know when you watch the scores get read out. The moment she heard her name get read out on one of the scorecards, or like obviously that they're gonna read a split decision. You know how they read them back to. The look on her face is genuinely like, holy shit, holy shit, somebody bought it. And then when the third one ran and it was her name, she's like, I'm a fucking G. Like, I am so good at what I do. But like, it was genuine surprise to her that she won the fight, is what it looked like in my opinion. Like, Ketlin, she's, body language, she was ready to win this, ready to get her hand raised. She did everything that she needed to do. I mean, you can look at the striking numbers and complain. I would, because 58 strikes, I mean, landed. Yeah, that's not great in a 3-round bout, but these are bantamweight women. And I do remember saying in this fight, and I've said this before and I've broke it down before, that the 3 divisions that we have for women somehow perfectly encapsulate a lot of what we have in the male divisions. And when you watch this, you could see basically the skill level of heavyweight males. Like, this is genuinely crazy, that this is like, they're so slow and sluggish, and like they fight it at like a plodding pace. Like, it's, I don't know, it just feels like these are a lot bigger of women than they are, like, in size and stature, not obviously fucking weight, but like, you would think you're watching giant women when it comes to bantamweight, but they're just slightly heavier than the smaller women. Like, they're all the same size relatively. So it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just crazy to me to think that Norma Dumont won this fight, because I can't tell you one thing that she did to win, but that's just my opinion. I said that
Well,
about the fucking champ. So
I mean, I'll let you get it all out there because I'm going to blow your mind here a little bit. I was not overly mad with this decision. On the watch along, I definitely thought that it was a little bit crazy. But even on the watch along, I was like, first round, obviously Vieira. She took that very clearly. Second round, I was like, little bit closer, maybe could go either way, but I gave it to Norma. And then the third round I thought was pretty close too. I mean, I like, again, on the rewatch was really where it solidified for me. I was like, I'm actually okay with this decision in the big picture here. Like, because really, if this is one of those ones that you have to break it down like point by point, because of how like the perception with the ground control of Vieira definitely made it seem like she was doing more, but she wasn't actually gaining anything with that control. So if you're going strictly off of like the same way that they did in Abu Dhabi, where if you're going strictly off of damage, I think that this kind of made sense a little bit, because Vieira she nearly gets the head and arm choke in the first. Doesn't adjust her positioning, which was odd because she did have her legs free to do so. I was like, that could have been your way to just end this thing early. But Norma adjusts well in the second round. She got her ass in gear, better striking than round one for sure. Even with the groundwork of Vieira, I gave Dumont the second round, so I was like 1-1 going into the third. The third was close. I thought that Ketlin was doing some decent work, but it was really a lot of like clinching and stalling on the cage, and Dumont was landing the better shots. I was like, okay, I mean, split decision and going to Dumont does not, it kind of adds up to me. I know, and I know you're with Chiesa and everybody else said the same thing, so maybe I'm just crazy.
Here's my new theory. Well, not theory, but here's my new idea. And well, what the theory is actually first we'll go into that and then I'll let you bring it up is that obviously the judges want to give Norma Dumont the win. And the judges, and I mean by the backdoor access of UFC whispering in people's ear like, "Hey, Norma Dumont's on a win streak. Caitlin Vieira just lost to the champ. Now we have a new championship contender. Make Norma Dumont win." Possibly what happened. Also, to fix the issue of inconsistent judging when it comes to things like this, because magically control time doesn't matter. Now we're just in the non-control era. Every card, every judge that is potentially going to be on that card, I need a mission statement. What are you going to see? What is your winning strategy? Let me know what I can expect from you as a judge when I watch these fights. If Sal Tomato goes in there and says, "I love when a person is on their back and they get controlled for 15 minutes of the fight," that's a genuine winning performance, because he's stupid. I've seen him have that fucking thought process literally last week. And I just,
No, I'm
I
with
don't
it.
know.
No, look, consistency is all. I say that word time and time again. I have that in big, bold letters down in the notes on this, later in this card. So yes, I am completely with it. What I would like is clearer definitions of what you're looking for, clearer definitions of what goes into the judging of these rounds. What are like you have, if you go through the unified rules, which I have, that I have a laminated copy of it over at Vitz King's house that we pull out on stream every once in a while as needed. Uh, if you go in there, the criteria for judging is a paragraph that big. It's maybe 2 paragraphs long with very, very, very basic wording. I'm talking about wording that could be understand and written by maybe a 7th grade level.
Nice.
How about you flesh that out into a full set of criteria, a full set of standards that have to be met, and then if you wanted to go as far as your mission statement idea thereafter, I'm okay with that as well too. But really, I think that if you just had it in the base of the rules, then all of this becomes a lot clearer. Because no, you're exactly right. The point that you brought up about the control time no longer mattering, it's inconsistently applied, and that is completely 100% factual and a valid criticism. So me going off of the striking, obviously the striking numbers here look like they would lend it to my belief here, but that doesn't tell the whole story, first of all. And second of all, we time and time again are talking about how the striking numbers don't always seem to add up, going through with the clicker as we've been talking about. So we need a consistent, evenly applied rule set that is enforced by the commissions across the board. And this needs to come from the top down. I've been saying this for years.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree. But
So
this one, it's I mean, split decision. I guess it's not the worst in the business. We've seen unanimous decisions that have been horrible. Ketlin, one of these people that she's in a position where I just don't think she really loses stock, in my opinion, because again, she's a consistent gamer. She knows exactly what she's going to do in fights. We know what we're going to get out of her. And she's floating around the top of the division still. It's not like you can say she's not one of the best in the division because you can't name 7 other fucking female bantamweights. So,
right. No, it's definitely true. Yeah, I mean, I think that it is unfortunate here. I mean, I think that there was some nice work being done. I really think that she should have just finished that head and arm choke. Personally, I mean that I think that
oh
was
yeah, she sucks apparently.
Come on, I didn't say all that.
Well, I mean, how do you not finish the damn choke? That's literally like it's fully locked in, damn near. I mean, as a Brazilian, I mean,
because really, if you go back, that was why I even had it as a note. Because if you go back and look at it, she's down, top down, body almost parallel. Her leg is completely free. The one that's in between her leg, like she literally could have just one over the other leg and been right in the exact right position for it. So it was a little bit of a low IQ move on that one, but other than, look, that you're in the middle of a fight. There's a lot going on in your mind, I'm sure, whatever. But so yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate. This was certainly a close fight. I watch along and on the rewatch, I completely acknowledge that. So I do think it's unfortunate that this is how it went down. But in the grand scheme of things, going point by point, I was not entirely like unhappy with how this ended up playing out. In fact, when they showed the judges scorecards, because always, as I have always said, if there is an odd wonky decision, that's when you see the judges scorecards on screen. When I saw the ones that were for Dumont, I was like, that looked okay to me. It gave the first round to Vieira. They gave the other two to Dumont. I was like, kind of seeing it. So I don't know. Again, maybe I'm crazy just like the judges.
Yeah, probably, but it's okay.
Fair enough. And that's what makes horse races, right? And I'm also not on the take. So, at least there's, at least I can have that going for me.
True.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. This is Dante Johnson versus Florida man Cedricus Dumas. Chat was saying that fighter coming up named Kevin Christian looks like a Key and Peele character. After hearing Dante Johnson talk, he sounds like one.
I definitely did not hear him talk too much. I did see the headline of him saying Cedricus Dumas is a good dude. I don't know if
Oh,
you
you didn't
saw that
actually
one.
see the clip?
No, is
Oh,
it fun? Is it funny? Like,
not really like in what he says, but the way he talks in general is just like he's got this.
okay,
He no, you and me have a little bit of a similar frame of reference of like the like hood elements of our life. Like guys that talk like him for sure.
gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, this fight. Who even cares? I mean, like Cedricus Dumas. Listen, Cedricus Dumas is around because the UFC. Well, at a time we did, and the UFC did believe this as well. It was a true thing. We wanted to see Cedricus Dumas enter the cage and lose his fight. Like, I'm good by that. Whatever. But it's getting to a point where it's like, can we not watch him lose every time now? Like, this is supposed to be the best in the business. Um, can we swap him for Brian Battle? Like, I'm just questioning what's going on here. I mean, Brian Battle refused to make 170. 185's right there, dude. You just asked to get back in the UFC. Cedricus Dumas is literally competing with an ankle monitor. Like,
yeah,
crazy.
well, I mean, to the points that we were making earlier, and based on what I saw from Cedricus Dumas in this fight, if there were two other fights that were suspicious on this card, this was one of them in my estimation. What?
I genuinely think it might be a lot of the people on this card because now that they know, because there's another one that we're going to talk about here in a
Oh
minute.
yeah, well that's what I'm saying. The number was two, so I was like, what are the other two that they're talking about? And I was like,
Well, when you
okay,
talk about when you talk about this one, I do not see a fighter that's being paid off because we know for fact Cedricus Dumas one is not that smart, not that willing to lose his job. I mean, he clearly needs a job. I mean, this is one of the only places that's going to take him at this point. He can't just go to McDonald's now. Like, he's going to have odd jobs for the rest of his life. Would he take the opportunity to bite the hand feeding him multiple times after he's been arrested while in the company? I don't know.
well, considering that any amount of money is life-changing money for Cedricus Dumas, I think that that's
Yeah,
where
but
my head's at.
but if he
He's
in
also
his
a
mind,
multiple known criminal.
but in his mind, I assume it's, but I can fight for a lifetime. If I get in a gambling scam, I'm sure he was never fucking offered. Like, cause like they know he's gonna lose. It's like, you don't have to throw the fight. Dude. You're a fucking plus fucking a million to fucking anyway.
Well,
So go ahead.
yeah, let's just say, regardless of all of that aspect of it, I'll tell you why I at least think this though, is because I mean, I have seen Cedricus Dumas fight now, what, 5, 6 times, something like that. And this is the first time that I can remember, at least. Maybe I wasn't paying attention as closely before, but he was fighting like a cartoon character in this fight. Now, you said, who cares about this fight? Honestly, I think that this fight was one of the better ones on this card because Dante Johnson actually pretty skilled on the ground. I mean, he's more of a striker. At least that's what he was on the Contender Series coming in as a newcomer. But he was navigating the ground pretty well. But that also comes with the added dance partner of a cartoon character. Dumas was going cartoono mode. He was spinning himself out of his shoes, as you might say.
You just made a really good point because I remember now. Speaking of DC and his waffling, so when Dante Johnson walked out, they had a little, the little box, and it's like DC's notes for the fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
They said Dante Johnson is the striking version of Torres Finney. and then he goes in here and wrestles the entire matchup.
So he's the Torres Finney version of Torres Finney.
So DC obviously he knows what he's talking about clearly because he knows a striker when he sees one compared to a wrestler. And I you know, whatever, great performance or not, it's not a performance that you can gauge. Uh, it's
Yeah, no,
Cedricus Dumas, you
yeah,
know.
I'll give you that. I mean, but again, like the decision making is, I guess, also what I'm questioning. And look, I'm not trying to say like with what's going on.
Everybody's going to be in the betting scandal now, you
That's
know.
what I'm saying. It's like, with what's going on right now, it's like who knows anything, right? But I'm just saying, like, what I saw here was Dumas starting off decently with a good teep, using his length to keep a little bit of distance. Then he closes it for himself for the takedown. I'm like, okay, this is a decent start. But then he's working for a single leg on the cage while he already has Dante Johnson essentially down, but he's still just committed to the single leg, not adjusting any positioning for it. Like, it was like a dog with a bone for the single leg. I'm like, why are you so steadfast on getting the single leg right now? It just seemed a little strange to me. Then, of course, Johnson ends up reversing that and taking to the other side of the cage, gets a nice slam takedown himself off of that. Again, Cedricus Dumas with the cartoony stuff. It was like it was so bad that they ended up sharing a little bit of a chuckle over it. Dumas does that spinning back fist that was completely airballed, and they kind of just like laughed to each other for a second there. It's like, all right, this is just an odd display. Then Johnson did have that really nice adjustment. I did want to highlight that when they were on the ground, Dumas went down for or he was like kind of went down off of a right hand, but it sort of looked awkward. Like he was like kind of like going forward already, and he sort of just continued to drop. Dante kind of like he was like almost chain wrestling on the fly. He sort of spun himself off of Dumas's back. I was like, that's a pretty high level move that he just pulled off there. So I at least wanted to say, like, this guy does have some admirable skills, even if it is in this fight, and as you said, cannot be gauged going forward. But yeah, I mean, he just was composed. He stayed through, he stayed the course. He kept on the wrestling. And, I mean, right after Cedricus Dumas goes for the next cartoony move of those rolling kick attempts, which he actually did kind of get close to one of them. So I was like, okay, I mean, I guess there maybe is something there. He's being creative. He's being overly creative, I guess, as you could say, if you want to be charitable.
Yeah, this one again, not the needle mover that I needed to see. He took a round longer than most people to finish Cedricus Dumas, so that's probably not a good sign. I mean, I get he's a wrestler; he had to grind for it. He got the submission, and he is surprised. I think the biggest note to take away, actually, if you want to be real and genuine, he made middleweight. He came down
In
from
fact,
whatever it was, and
fair enough, though. But my last note is actually the one that puts us into the most perspective. I stopped right before it, but I'll get to it now. And this is one that was brought up in the chat during the fight. Is that did you notice that it looked like Cedricus Dumas was ready to tap before the choke was actually fully secured, though?
we see that though. I mean,
That the hand kind of hovering. That's kind of what I thought too. It was like,
yeah,
but it did look like it was very much in that position. It wasn't like it was just up and it was like, oh, I'm thinking about it. It was like, oh, I'm ready to tap, and now I'm going to do it.
yeah, but it's the same thing with Cedricus Dumas. Like, if you're questioning him tapping early, it's like you just saw his last fight. He got kneed in the balls and then quit. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's like he got paid and then was exited through the fight and still got to show money, and the fight was never concluded. It's not necessarily fight fixing, but if you think that he would be doing some sort of fight fixing in the sense that he would tap early or later, in that sense, whatever you want to say, then go back and question his last fight where he literally just walked out the fucking arena with a nut shot. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can question with Cedricus Dumas because he's one of those people that has weird fucking incidents that goes on in all of his matchups. So, like I said, I think more or less in his mind, this is what I would like to believe. It is not. It would not be my best interest to take a lump sum opportunity and get caught, probably. But if I do petty thefts and I can always get out of jail, I I could always fight for a living. Like, people, I can fight people for a living, whatever you want to say. I
I
think
mean,
that's his option. It's like I can get a paycheck from fighting, or I could risk literally going to federal prison. You know.
Fair, I mean, fair point, but he also needs to actually win some of these because he's about to lose his job in the UFC, and the payday goes down significantly if he's going to be fighting in other organizations. I would think, especially considering how what his style and performance level is. So,
Mhm.
fair enough. Yeah, it's just purely speculation, considering that there were apparently, based on who knows if the guy is credible or not, saying that there were two other fights that could be suspicious. I'm just saying that if I had to, if if you lined up all of these fights and said pick the ones that you thought could be them,
Mhm.
that's all I'm saying. So,
100%.
but yeah, good deal for Johnson, and yeah, listen to him talk sometimes because he's definitely he's got that like he's got a very specific way of talking, and you don't know exactly what I'm saying when you hear it.
Hell yeah.
All right, next up, this fight was yeah, it was okay. This was Timmy Kwamba versus Chang Ho Lee. This was a lot of another wrestling heavy fight. I mean, Lee had a really nice backpack in the first round. I thought that was pretty solid, and then slowly and incrementally, Kwamba fought his way back into it and just turned the tables essentially.
When I was talking about Korean wrestlers earlier, I did not obviously give a mention to Mr. Chang Ho Lee, so I apologize. But he is one of these next era Korean grapplers that I think are to rival the Japanese grapplers. They are wrestle heavy, and he does a great job of also smothering with his wrestling. And like you said, he got to the back position and he was threatening a choke, I believe is what it was. Don't think I ever thought it was going to be close, but what I will say, the thing that interests me the most, Timmy Kwamba. This is the perfect example, exhibit A and B of what a mustache and a goatee can do for somebody. Because when I looked at him, I'm like, where does Timmy Kwamba go? Like this is a different guy. This is a Latino fella. But a haircut can go a long way for you because he did come in looking a lot better. I mean, he looked more of the fight he looked more of the part as a fighter. Timmy Kwamba, from what he used to look like, I mean, that's a little frail twink, But now, okay, he kind of looks the part a little bit. He actually looks like he can go in there and get a little gritty, which he did. And I actually thought he showed a lot of heart in this. His nose was broke, and he still put on a decent performance. He was bleeding real early. What I will say though is after looking at these statistical numbers, what the fuck? I remember thinking like, that's fine that Timmy won, but like if these were the actual numbers, holy shit, what happened here?
Pepper strikes,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff was a lot of it. I mean, again, in the first round with the backpack, I think a good amount of that comes from that, just the side headshots and that kind of stuff, tap shots.
yeah, but Timmy only landing 39 strikes in a fight, like Jesus fucking Christ, this is bantamweight, like fuck, oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, look, I'm trying to be charitable about this. This fight was okay at best. This was not like the greatest fight. Again, a very wrestle heavy without all of the other elements that you need to make a wrestle heavy fight. Of quality, of value to for the entertainment of it. It was certainly a grudgy fight. So I mean, a lot of the strike, like I said, the striking was like where the striking could be had kind of thing. It's like you get a couple here, you transition to another position, you get a couple there, starts adding up. But like definitely seeing those numbers is like, yeah, it does look like a little like a pretty big discrepancy on paper, but like watching it in the fight, it's like it never adds up to like, damn, this guy was really putting that work in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I do like Timmy Twilight though. I do think I see his value, and I do think we got to judge him a little differently. Not everybody is able to grow and evolve fight to fight. This is somebody who's been around for a little bit. Like they said, he's been doing this for a really long time, like martial arts in
well,
general.
if I have to hear about him growing up in Las Vegas one more goddamn time, Jesus Christ, does he not have any other things in his life that are highlight worthy? Yes, he was born and raised in Las Vegas. This is the fact that you need to know about him because they say it all. Las Vegas is a fight city. They didn't even have a hockey team when he was growing up. He was entrenched in this fight game. It's like, okay, well, I mean, fine, like I get great. Is this like what is it equaling up to past that? I don't.
Yeah, yeah, no, but this was a good one, and I actually don't think I mind Chang Ho Lee either. Like, uh, decent enough performance. Like I said, Korean wrestlers, they're coming around. They're not boring. You know, I could tell you some other regions that have wrestlers that aren't necessarily fun to watch, and those dudes are sweeping legs and trying to take backs, but they're not doing the things that make the positions. Worth scoring in their favor anymore. That's why we're getting a diluted control time like on the scoring, is because people have just been abusing it for so long. The Koreans, though, I feel like they've tweaked it a little bit. It's not like they're changing the game plan and we're still going back to striking and all out guns blazing. It's like we're gonna take the grappling and we're gonna make it work. And I think they're doing it well. And they're not submission hunters either. Like that's the difference. The Japanese grappling is straight submission specialists. They're looking for heel hooks. They're going to the back. They're trying to Tatsuro Taira and Rei Saruya are two really good examples. There's going to be more coming up, but these guys are submission hunters rather than the wrestlers in Korea who are they're smotherers, and I think that's what's key. So.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you. I think that's a very astute observation, but I think that the Achilles heel is the lack of finishes, though, because I mean, like it's a control heavy style. It can definitely win you a fight if you're doing it consistently throughout. We just saw that with Ko earlier in the card, but you need to pair that with a finish of some sort, because if not, you're going to have a whole lot of people who it's basically going to be a lot like Dagestan. I mean, you're going to have a lot of guys who, the cream of the crop will be able to pull the finishes off, but you're going to have a ton on down the roster who are going to be able to do that style, but still not ever really amount to much of anything aside from middling, because you have to be able to finish in order to really ascend. I mean, you can, or you end up with Bilal Muhammad's who, have to fight 800 times in order to actually get any recognition.
Fair. Yeah, I could definitely see that. But this one wasn't a bad fight. I mean, Timmy, in the moment, I thought Timmy won. I had no reason to go back and watch this one, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, you certainly wouldn't unless you're a crazy person like me. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I mean, again, like, it was good enough. I mean, Kwamba ended up getting getting a little color on his face at some point in there, so there was enough to keep the attention for sure. It was not a bad fight. It just was not a great fight, and hopefully Kwamba continues to improve and get better, and put on for Las Vegas.
100%.
All right.
Oh, hey, did you know that he
Yes.
was born in Las Vegas?
I was aware of that. Yes,
Okay,
born and raised before there was a hockey team.
gotcha.
All right. Next up was Billy Elicana versus Kevin Christian. Of course, Kevin Christian making his debut, coming off of the Contender Series. Son of Susie, one of my favorite nicknames in all of the game for Billy Elicana, getting the job done in this fight. And Mr. Christian really not looking great in this thing.
First thing I want to note, and I did not notice this during the fight, but this was a picture going around. Did you notice Elikana had his shorts on backwards?
I did. I did. This was when I was doing all of the research on the Dulgarian situation. As you have mentioned often, I'm not always on Twitter. I was saying, I need to be more on Twitter now. There is definitely some value in being aware of what goes down on there. And yes, I did see that. Yeah, Elikana. Not it was worse for him, because at least with Marvin Vittori, it was just in the promo pictures. He actually had him in the fight backwards.
Yeah, yeah, and what's funny too is before the fight where the ref is like checking them and do the thing, like they normally like check the little ties,
Yeah.
make sure it's a little. I guess nothing happened there, but no, Son of Susie, really funny nickname. I don't know why it just makes me smile. It's like, man, that's a really wholesome nickname. Maybe Susie's out there really proud, probably. So
Absolutely.
and this one, I thought went exactly like it should have. I mean, this is what I thought was going. I was very. You wanted to talk about the most previous performance with Ebo Aslan, where he was shit the bed, obviously, but like that was both of their faults. Them dudes, they might have been, they might be in the scandal. But either way, this fight right here, this went exactly how I knew it was gonna. It started off a little rough, and everybody has a game plan until they start, and until they get hit, everybody's got a game plan. And Kevin Christensen has a pretty decent game plan. He was able to kick him very, very fast, very low, very fast. Billy Elikana's legs were getting worked over really quick. But what Kevin Christensen did, and this is a lot of tall fighters because it's easy when you just lean your head back and don't put your hands up, it's going to catch up to you eventually. And I was very confident about this too. Like Billy Elikana did not look like he was going to get to it because he was slowing up. He's getting chopped in the legs. Now he's got smaller movements. Less mobility to make a leaping thrust to be able to get this dude's chin. But for some reason, Kevin Christensen, he was very predictable with his movements. He was leaning a lot to the sides, and then eventually Billy catches him, of course, busts him upside the head, drops him, and then pounds him a little bit, jumps on his back, and then, of course, gets in this nasty rear naked choke. Now, the real story about this one
Well,
is yes, go ahead, go ahead.
let me just get to the points too, because yes, we will talk about the finish here in just a second. You say that Christian had a solid game plan. I mean, there really was not much of one aside from the leg kicks and leading with his fingers. This guy was leading with his fingers the entire fight, to the point that Chris Tione, who God hope that this guy is not involved in anything, because I do think that Tione is one of the best refs that we have. And yeah, I thought he was right to do what he did. He had to stop the fight at one point and say, "Hey, close your hands." Christian, yeah, exactly. Does the motion, you can say, Christian, Brazilian does not speak English, but the motion should tell you what he's talking about. Goes right back to leading with the fingers. In fact, to be fair,
They both did.
I was just going to say both of them were leading with the fingers at times. So, okay, whatever. But the other thing, though, is that Christian is a submission guy. So you could say, I will at least give the benefit of the doubt to say that, yeah, he was chopping the legs away. Eventually, he was going to go for the takedown and possibly get it after the legs were compromised, maybe. But then with what happened, with the shot that caught, you could have probably predicted that off of the fact that Elikana was finding the shots. Like this was a much better performance and a better start. The Aslan fight, I certainly should have lit a fire under his ass, and is not a great indicator of anything based on that performance, because of exactly as you described it there, being just it takes two kind of thing. But whatever changes he made were very effective here against a much taller fighter, because he was going for the shots and finding them. And that's what I appreciated about how he ended up getting to the finishing sequence. So go ahead with that.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the finishing sequence, obviously, Billy Elikana jumps on the back and gets a choke underneath. Now, this is one of these moments where, when he jumps on his back, he has got his arm trapped.
He's
So,
pinning his body underneath him.
yes, so Kevin Christian has his arms trapped underneath Billy Elikana's legs, and Chris Tione is fully prone. He's laying on his stomach, looking at Kevin Christian's face. Now, any sane person who's watching at home is saying, "Holy shit, this guy's gonna fucking die," because he's tapping for mercy, and the ref is completely unbeknownst, because he's looking straight in his face, wondering if he's gonna see him go lifeless, instead of looking for any indication that he wants out. Because and this is a thing that I think is very crucial to the story too. And I typed this out a couple different times, but I don't think you guys understand what I mean. And I want to tell you with my voice, obviously. Kevin Christian, when you watch the end of this fight and Billy Elikana's hand gets raised, and you look at Kevin Christian, he's got a fucking busted eye. His nose is, bloody. He just got choked to death, basically, is what he thought was happening. You can see in his eyes, he's like, I might have made the wrong mistake. I might have chose the wrong career path. And like, he's still little young in his career, but like, this is the top of the game. And the referee just failed him. I mean, in his mind, he's tapping. It's over. It's over. Please save me. Save me. I'm dying. I'm dead. I'm literally just gonna die. Like, the ref didn't fucking help me. And then he wakes up after I just got concussed. I just got almost choked to death. Why would I want to be here? Like, why do I want to do this again? Like, I would not want to do that again. Like, I mean, and for somebody who's been in the position where, he's lost before, and he's obviously never been the best, because he's lost up until this point. But like, in my mind, he might have saw that this just ain't for him. And that's what I thought I saw there. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, there's definitely everything that you described. And then to add insult to injury to that, if you were paying close attention, after the sequence finally, was alleviated, finally, the referee realized what was going on and stopped the fight, and Elikana disengaged. There's a moment where just before they cut to commercial, it's Billy Elikana and Chris Tione, and they're having a little chat with each other. and Tyone's just laughing with him and just palling around with him. Could you imagine being poor Kevin Christian waking up from the deepest of slumbers and just seeing the guy who was supposed to save you, the guy who was supposed to be in charge of your safety, they're just having have a little friendly chat with the guy that was choking your life away.
Did you okay, so obviously we're on the betting scandal card. Did you hear what Billy Elicana told him?
Yeah, every time that you're my referee, my fights go really well.
It's like it's dude, they're just they're just fucking with us at this point. They knew what they were doing. I mean, you talk about the UFC knowing Billy Elicana fucking knew. Chris Tyone knows what's up, and he's like, dude, every time I fucking fight, I mean, it goes really well. I have no idea what's going on. Like, holy shit. Like,
Oh man, I don't know. There, I get like I want to give Tyone a little slight moment to leeway, but it is hard on this one because you are right. I mean, he was in motion starting off the sequence to go down, but like seeing the way that the mount was, you should know that there is potential for the arms to be trapped. And so it's like what's unfortunate too was that like he does start off, like you said, he's like kind of on his stomach on the one side. He does go around to check the other side at one point, but it was after the taps had already been done and he was already going to sleep. So it's like, you're not going to see anything at that point. So it was just unfortunate timing on that. But if he had been standing up, then he might have had a better chance of actually catching it.
I'm really glad that I stood with Billy Elicana on this. Like, I truly do believe that he does have that dog in him, and like that's what I knew that I've seen it when I saw him fight Bogdan Gushkov. Like, I saw that dog in him. Like, he wanted to win that 14 grand, bro. Like, that was all that he had to go for. And when I see a fight like this, like he knocks him, he goes straight for the finish. He pounces on a choke. He gets it done. And this is again, you got to remember Billy Elicana at light heavyweight, very tall, very slender. He not often has been facing somebody taller than him, let alone 4 or 5 inches taller than him. To overcome that obstacle, which is very difficult. A lot of people just the height alone is something that carries you through the divisions if you are a specific build and skill set. Billy Elicana is normally the taller fighter. He's the taller, longer, rangy guy. So for him to go ahead and overcome probably something that he's never seen. Obviously, this dude's not hot shit, but Billy Elicana is pretty good in my book. I really do like this dude. He's gamer. I will give him that. He's game. He goes in there against some pretty. I wouldn't say these are the scariest people because Ebo is not fucking scary no more, brother. And then Kevin Christian clearly ain't that scary. So Billy Elicana, I mean, light heavyweight. Listen, if Bogdan Gushkov just got a matchup against Jan Blachowicz, I mean, just 2 fights ago was he almost choked lifeless by Billy Elicana. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Elicana, when you say that he's got the dog in him, that I 10,000% agree with. He definitely comes out with an intensity in these fights. Of course, Aslan fight aside, he's got the mindset. He definitely does. Wanting to go out there and get the win, being actively seeking the win, which I think are two different things in this sport. Wanting to win and actively seeking it don't always align with each other. But with him, I think that because like that's what I was saying about him finding the shots. Like he literally was like, I know that this guy is taller. I see that the way that he's moving. Now, granted, it wasn't like he not some crazy fast mover necessarily, and he wasn't putting out much offense as far as striking goes. So it was a little bit easier perhaps to catch some of these things. But either way, you still have a farther distance to travel your hands in order to get to him. I think that he adjusted and navigated this fight in a way that got him to the victory very soundly.
Mhm.
And you pair that with having the will to win and the desire to win. I see nothing wrong with it. I'm glad that they kept him around.
Yeah, 100%. Billy's pretty cool. He's cool by me. Son of Susie, once again, very, very good nickname.
I love it, and also he did have his like entire family there. I don't know if Susie was one of the family members, but he had his young family there with him, and I'm always like, God, I hope you win. So good that
Yeah,
he did.
yeah, we're gonna have to figure out where Susie's at and what she's up to.
Indeed. Yes. Shout out to Susie. Absolutely. Also, shout out to the chat, by the way. Appreciate you guys still sticking around with us. Saw Didgery Dave checking in. Appreciate you, brother.
While we're shouting out the chat, obviously the prelims had just ended, so this is a little break, and we're going to go ahead and give you guys a little tidbit on what we are up to for the streams. So, this week, if not Wednesday, it's going to be this Thursday. We are going to be reviewing, drum roll please, we are going to be reviewing the Warrior movie. I don't know what year this was filmed. It's got Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy is the actors in this one. It's a pretty decent flick, and we're gonna get to talk about it with you guys. So hopefully you guys watch it, do your homework, and bring some good comments to the stream. So Wednesday and or Thursday this week, we're gonna go over that movie. So be there, be square, whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. Yes, 2011's Warrior is exactly the movie, and I will be posting a community post about it as well, just to catch you up on that and make sure that you are reminded. So once we lock in the day, it'll be either one of those days that Chase just mentioned there. I will post about it, and you can get your homework ready for that because there's a lot to talk about with that movie, and we're very excited to talk about it. So come hang out with your boys for the review of Warrior for MMA on Film later this week.
Hell yeah. So speaking about a lot of things that have a lot to talk about, we can go into this next fight that don't have too much to talk about because this dude is playing as Jane has ever been. Alan Nascimento versus Cody Durden. What do you think
Yeah.
about this one, Thinker?
Well, I mean, I was first and foremost said, Cody Durden, what the hell are you doing here? But it turns out that I guess it must have been very close to when we did the last episode of the show because, originally this was going to be Rafael Estevam and Cody Durden came in on a week notice. So it must have been pretty much exactly that day or somewhere thereabouts. So, yeah, surprising to see Cody Durden come in, but I was happy for it because I think that this actually turned out to be a more competitive fight. Well, maybe not more competitive, but a more active fight than it would have been with Estevam. I think that it was more of a striker's affair than a ground game affair, and that made it a little bit more visually appealing, even if it wasn't, I don't know, the necessarily the greatest performance for the victor.
Yeah, let me start out by saying it did end in a finish, so obviously we can't complain. But I will say that I'll complain about a couple things.
There are things to complain about, I would say.
Alan Nascimento, for a guy that has one finish on the feet and 17 submissions as of right now, why the fuck do you use your shitty striking so much, brother? Like and that's what I think the point is I'm getting to, because I think Alan Nascimento is building a false sense of reality upon himself because Cody Durden apparently is just washed. Because the thing is, Cody Durden's a decent striker, a decent wrestler, decent grappler. He's fine. You got you got dropped by an elbow by a dude who has one finish on the feet. I mean, that's your red flag right there. I mean, Bruno Silva's one thing to get flatlined by because he has some finishes. Josh Van, we're starting to get a little sketchy. This dude doesn't even have whatever you want to say. Uh, it's I don't know, man. It's just crazy that Cody Durden has fallen off as much as he is. I mean, Alan
He's in
Nascimento.
on short notice, though.
But listen, it's not about that. Like, you can't argue that forever because his record is not going to be able to reflect something that you can argue. I mean, he's 17-9. I mean, you can only step in on short notice so many times before we have to boot you out for losing. I mean,
No, well, and that's the bigger point too. Is I think I am kind of agreeing with you, though. It does seem that Cody Durden's chin might be getting a little compromised.
he this is obviously an opportunity that he saw. Like, I could step in right here and stay active and beat a dude on the feet, and which it wasn't that it was going the way that it shouldn't have, because Alan Nascimento was settling to stay on the feet with Cody Durden, which in theory should have been bad on his part. Like, this went as good as it could have for Cody Durden. I step in on short notice. I face the most harmless guy on the feet, and he wants to strike with me. But then he gets dropped on his ass with an elbow and then choked out. It's like,
Well, so I mean, I think that if you want to get down into the nitty gritty of it, I think what I saw from Durden in this fight was an over eagerness. I think that he was a little over eager in this fight. The aggression was a little uncontrolled compared to the composure of Nascimento. Even after Durden settled in, he was still chasing shots, but I mean, and landing decently. But like it just, he was. I think that he lulled himself into a false sense of security from the start of this thing, thinking that, oh, I'm going to go out here. This guy's a grappling guy. I'm going to be able to overpower him. I'm going to be able to get him up against the cage, back him down, land the shots. Like mix the striking up decently to the point that it confuses him, and just finish the job in a nice, easy come in on short note. I think that that's really, again, this is kind of going into a little more of the psychological aspect of it, but I really think he thought, I'm going to come in on short notice. I'm going to finish this guy. And that's going to be the thing. That's going to be the thing that people are going to remember from this one, is that I came in on short notice, got the job done, end up chasing it a little bit too hard, and ended up, because really he just got caught. That's what I had the same note about that. Is that Nascimento's striking is not great. I mean, this guy is really, he leaves himself open, doesn't evade shots well. I mean, like the stand-up game is not on Nascimento's side. He just caught him with the right shot at the right time.
This is Brazilian Steve Urseg. Not just that he looks like him. I mean, it's that he's mediocre in all the things that he does, and he's apparently some grapple genius. I'm yet to believe it, because this is bantamweight, or I'm sorry, this is supposed to be flyweight. This was a catchweight at like 141 or something, I think is what it was. But this one, uh, Nascimento is just not somebody that's going to be able to stand with the big dogs and in flyweight. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, listen, Manel Cap is destroying this guy, and that's not even a fight that he'd be able to get because he has no star power. But Asu Amabayev is somebody that is also walking through Mr. Alan Nascimento here. Tagir Ulanbekov is somebody who's also walking through, and these are the people that are on the lower end of the spectrum. I mean, Josh Van is getting a title fight, and he would just box the bloody head off this guy. So Pantoja is still the champ. I mean, you want to talk about a Brazilian flyweight, it's nowhere close being Alan Nascimento. So,
No, definitely not. And I mean, you mentioned Steve Urseg as a comparison. He did call out Steve Urseg, so perhaps we could have a Steve Urseg elimination fight, and one of these guys can stop being that. But
yeah.
we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. But as I said, I mean, I felt almost a little bad for Cody Durden in this. I think that he had a bigger inflated sense of self than he should have. I mean, every fight that you go into, and this is speculation on my part, of course, but still, if my thought process is correct, every fight that you go into, you can't be looking past anybody, because
Mhm.
exactly things like this can always happen. And, I mean, a well-placed elbow can happen by accident. You know what I mean? Like, which very well might have been what happened here. Who knows? But,
Yeah.
I mean, the point is just that I think that Cody Durden had a vision of what this fight was going to be, and it did not add up to that in the reality. So.
If you guys need another reminder of what is happening later on this week, I would just like to let you know that Cody Durden gives off pretty good. But there's another dude on this card that gives off the pretty good vibes. But this dude, Cody Durden, gives off vibes of Tom Hardy in the Warrior movie, and that's exactly how he fights. And we'll talk about how that goes in the movie. So either way, there's your tidbit again. Cody Durden, not the best. But if he keeps taking short notice bouts and losing to dudes who have one finish on the feet, especially getting dropped by them and then finished on the ground, it's not looking good, pal.
Yeah, yeah, and look, chins go, man. I mean,
Mm,
this is chins are hard to maintain, dude. It's one of those things. You can build up muscle, in your arms. You can build up muscle mass. Your face is not. I mean, you can only condition your chin so much. Is the unfortunate nature of this. And Cody Durden's not exactly a spring chicken at this point. 17-9. He's been around the block.
yeah, 100%.
I'll see what happens to him. But yeah, decent enough win, I guess, for Mr. Nascimento, and doing the job I guess you should have expected on a short notice opponent in the grand scheme of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm going to hold back the comment I was going to make about the comparison to the film Warrior. So definitely make sure that you are with us for the Warrior review, so that I can
Mhm.
get my very funny joke out that I can't say right now.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. This is Charles Radke, Chuck Buffalo versus Daniel Frunza, the other Romanian on this card. Chuck Buffalo chooses to be a wrestler in this go around. What'd you think of him on the ground there, Chase?
This is, I mean, coming after the fight, when we see the next fight after this and we realize that there's a betting scandal going on, I immediately said, Charles Radke just got a submission win, everybody, and nobody scratched their head at all. Like, I mean, he didn't even attempt to strike this in this fight. He just got him to the ground and then went for chokes the entirety of the time. So it's like, at what point do we question where people were betting on Charles Radke because
Uh,
maybe it was just a lot less money than 500 grand or some shit, you know?
Could be, but I'll tell you why I don't think that that's it for this one is because Daniel Frunza is as much of a Felicia as you're going to get in this sport. If you're a longtime listener of the show, you might know that one tough punching bag for the Felicia Spencer syndrome, I call it. I'll never forget Felicia Spencer getting pieced to hell by Chris Cyborg, and that is where that was coined. This guy screams it from the mountaintops. He is one tough punching bag / one tough grappling dummy. And that's what he was in his last fight. And that was what he was here in a different way. So that's the only thing that I can lean on to say that I don't think that the fix was in on this one is that Frunza is a dude who can take a lot of punishment, but he cannot dish it worth a damn. And that's a very unfortunate thing. I take no joy in saying it, but I do not think that Daniel Frunza is of the caliber of the UFC.
Yep, I definitely agree with you. I mean, if Reese McKee not winning any matchups in the UFC up until Daniel Frunza appeared was any indicator that he was not very good, I mean, Charles Radke was able to just go ahead and manhandle him. And this isn't even the dude's game. I mean, Chuck Buffalo. Listen, this dude is a run. You want to talk about Warrior one more time? I mean, this is genuinely the epitome of Tom Hardy and the Warrior. He walks in and just tries to leave with a head on the platter. But this time, apparently, is a methodical wrestler now, you know? And
Well, he did say that he's like, oh, I've always had it, but everybody's been sleeping on the fact that I've got it. I haven't shown it, whatever. It's the old back pocket adage that bothers
yeah,
me so much. He's had it in the back pocket all this time, just hasn't had to use it.
he just never thought to use it when he was, standing with Carlos Freitas. So,
Yeah, right. Good point. Yeah, no, this was a departure. I definitely will say that. I mean, whatever. I mean, it worked for him. This nice groundwork, flattened Frunza out. It looked like he was going to get the rear naked in the first round. I mean, I actually do give Frunza some credit for that. He was fighting the hands well, good hand fighting for Frunza. But again, being one tough defender,
mhm.
it does not equal a winner, sadly. Having the best defense in this sport does not equal up to a strong offense,
Yeah.
sadly. That's, in some circumstances that might be the case, not in MMA.
Yeah, I don't think there's much more that I have to say about this other than, yeah, Daniel Frunza, terrible. Charles Radke got to do I mean, maybe in his mind he was always going to say that he had wrestling in his back pocket, but maybe this was just a real exhibition style for him. He was just like thinking like, I'm gonna just get to do whatever the fuck I want to this guy. I'll just wrestle. I'll just practice and
Yeah, I definitely think that that's definitely true. I also think that what he said in the post fight made sense to me too. He was like, I watched tape and I knew that this guy had a strong power right, and he never threw it.
yeah.
So I was waiting for something that wasn't coming, so I just switched the game plan. I was like, that tracks. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, everything was adding up there. And the other thing about Frunza too, I just wanted to mention, going back to my initial point about him being a Felicia, he wears damage like nobody's business, this guy. And that's another unfortunate thing. I don't think that there's much that you can really do to change that, but like Radke, to his credit as well, was getting some nice elbows on the ground. He was not nowhere near as bloody as he was in the last fight, of course, but I mean, instantly cut, instantly red. You just know that flushed look that you get once you're taking a lot of damage before you start opening up. He had that and then got opened up as well. And it's just like, dude, the optics on top of not being able to have an offense, like you're checking none of the boxes. And again, I'm not trying to dogpile on him. These are just the facts as I see them. But like, he does not have any of like the qualities necessary. That sounds really mean to say, but it's just, if you go down the list, can you be tough? He certainly can be tough, but does he get opened up a lot? Yes. Does he have any offense? No. I mean, it's like you're not checking enough of the boxes. So my last point there, was that all that was left in this fight after 2 rounds of Radke doing all of his work on the ground was to get the finish, and he did. So, shout out to him for that. And cut Daniel Frunza, sad to say.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we got to keep Alice, but Daniel, I'm sorry. Just because you're a dog, just like Alice, does not mean you have the hands to be able to put on other people like she does. And
Romania will
yeah,
have a better representation from the men at some
right,
point.
yeah, he owns Misfits now. I think is what his name is. Top G Andrew Tate.
Yikes. Yeah. Shout out to Rwand. Where the hell has he been lately? Anyway, but the very last thing that I did have about this was that Radke, as you had mentioned, very apt comparison to Hardy and Warrior. Has that attitude. He is just an asshole. Like he's got an asshole personality that is like somewhat fun. I could see it probably being problematic in certain instances, but it's entertaining from an outsider's perspective.
Mhm.
Unnecessarily roasting DC during the interview. DC stuttered over some word that he said, and he's like, "When you stutter, I love it." And it was just
Yeah,
like,
that was pretty funny. I definitely remember that. Yeah.
"Oh, okay, pal. Thanks, bud. You try to do my job. I've done your job. Have you done mine?"
Yeah, right.
So anyway, all right, let's hey, that's a long preamble to the fight that is at the heart of the matter. This is Isaac Dulgarian versus Yadier Del Valle. If you were in at the start of the stream, we talked at length about the scandal that is rocking the sport currently. Now we are going to talk about the actual fight itself. If you missed our earlier conversation, I'm sure that some of that's going to come up here again, but if you missed the full conversation, go back and watch the VOD or listen to the audio version of this show. You can hear what we said at the beginning of the episode or watch the video that I put out on the Gamma channel.
Yeah, so what I will say about this one, going back to what I started to, and when I was watching this one and when I saw the line shift, my initial thought back to the Irina Alexeva thing is that they did a pre-fight screening and Yadier Davale apparently was going to be 10 times fucking stronger than Isaac Dulgarian. I don't know who fucking thought of it. I don't know what made me think of it, but it was because of obviously Irina Alexeva. So when this fight started and I see Isaac Dulgarian shoot for a double leg, get it immediately, and then magically Yadier Davale sprawls out of it. And then I see Isaac Dulgarian shove him up against the cage, and instead of being able to lock his hands, I what I was thinking, because in my mind, again, I'm watching a steroid freak now. I'm watching this dude rip the jaws of life out of this dude's grip, and he's got Isaac Dulgarian almost like pinned with his arms behind his fucking back at this point. And I'm like, okay, so I get to watch the fucking Winter Soldier just beat up on this dude because somebody knew something. And then we get to the ground, and then it is almost as if Isaac Dulgarian, and this is upon rewatch now, because in the moment, yeah, obviously, I'm thinking that this is believable. Like, holy shit, he really is manhandling my dude. But when you watch it in the replay, it is almost if Isaac Dulgarian is forcing Davale to stay on his back. It is almost like he's keeping him there, and then that's before they get to the rollover position where he's actually locked in with the body triangle. Because when you get to that point, it's even more clear. I mean, this dude, he's trying so hard to make it seem like he's fighting the choke, but he's not actually doing anything. And what I think I take away from a fight fixing moment, and obviously the opposition possibly not being in on it, is that, again, back to false sense of reality. Yadier Davale thinks that he's probably the fucking shit now. I just submitted a dude who's never been finished. Whatever you want to say, I'm the shit. But from the actual standpoint of, I watched you not be able to actually choke out somebody who was pretending to get out of it. I mean, you might be one of the worst submission artists that I've ever seen. I mean, like that's genuinely like a raising concern. Like, he was wanting you to choke him out l- enough that he could make it believable that he was like working at it. A real submission artist would just choke him out. Like, I mean, they would just get it done. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. I think it is crazy to think that he could not actually submit him. If the case is that he was throwing the fight and Isaac Dulgarian was purposely losing, he should have been able to actually get bro to fucking tap out. Like, I don't know. That's
I
just
mean,
my
he did.
opinion.
You're saying earlier. I get you. I understand.
Yes.
Like, well, because yeah, the to your point, I said that like the way that he was trying to sell the dive is like you'd think that him selling the dive or that he's selling the dive because he's trying to last longer, but really what it's doing is giving the dive away because you can tell that he knows what he should be doing, but he is intentionally not doing it.
Hmm.
Because it goes back to all of the back punching. That was the biggest giveaway of all of this. Isaac Dulgarian, you made a great point in the Discord that I put into the video several times, is that Isaac Dulgarian had never been finished before. This guy is a dude who is an extremely high level wrestler and grappler. Do you really mean to tell me that Isaac Dulgarian does not know that he should be fighting the hands as opposed to punching behind his head when a rear naked choke, the most surefire way to achieve a submission, is sunk in basically? I mean, this you can't tell me that does not compute. All that Dulgarian was doing was punching behind his head. That was the majority of what he was doing from the ground sequence to the finish, was going to the back, allowing the adjustments. As you said, he's kind of forcing the movement with his own body, also trying to sell, is what I mean, based on what we know now, at least. I mean, all of the details still coming out, but what we understand this to be, he's rolling in one direction in order to let the momentum go back to the other direction. He's punching backwards. He's lengthening the inevitability of what is eventually going to happen, but doing so in a way that he still knows is going to get to the ultimate conclusion.
Mhm.
And that to me was one of the like, especially on rewatch, but on the watch along. Now, granted, we did have an inkling of this because we were tipped off about all of this weirdness going into this fight. So like, we kind of were conscious that this might be the case. But what I had said, and I think still remains true, is that he allowed Del Valle to beat him at his own game. And that is a crazy tell when it comes to a fix, because it's like you would think that the high level grappler that you were known to be, I mean, granted, he does have knockouts as well. So, I mean, he's a finisher all around. He's a well rounded finisher. That's what they were talking about on his submission radio interview before this fight, saying, you got a couple on the feet, you got a couple on the ground, you're well rounded. It's hard for people to make prop bets on you. You'd think that, like, knowing that he is that skilled on the ground when being just a big dude who can knock people out. I mean, obviously they're smaller guys, but you know what I'm saying. A guy who has knockout power is like anybody could possibly get a knockout under the right circumstances. You would think he would go to getting knocked out as the thing. But I guess maybe he didn't think he could sell that as good. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, punching behind the head, DC was all over this on commentary. That's how you knew commentary was not in on it, because DC was reading him the riot act, as was Michael Chiesa after the show concluded.
We'll get back to your point about why not fake it on the feet aspect when we get to the main event, of course. What I also want to agree with you. I mean, Isaac Dulgarian, once again, one of the better grapplers that I've ever seen. Uh, you're going to tell me that he magically just gets he just makes look like an amateur on the grappling. I mean, that's the key right there. I mean, if he got smoked on the feet by Davale, okay, sure, whatever, fluke or not. I mean, can you really fake a knockout? Who knows? But submitting, bro, in the first round after everybody on Twitter says the round one submission is, I mean, it's gonna happen. I mean, after it being said that it was gonna happen and then it happening, I mean, that's the key issue there. Yeah.
Of course, absolutely. And also to that exact point, rewinding the tape a little bit, you had mentioned that splayed out position that they were in at one point earlier in the fight. It was kind of almost like a forward half Nelson of sorts. It was
Yeah.
like, kind of like the arms were way back, they were kind of being forced outwards, kind of splayed, you could say. What does that do for Del Valle? It leaves Dulgarian's neck wide open for the first choke attempt. So it's like, you're setting
Oh
up,
yeah, he did. Yeah, he sat right on a fucking, yeah. He was definitely trying to let him get that shit too. I remember.
brother.
Yep.
He literally said, "Here is my neck, please take it." I mean, like, this is knowing what we know. I mean, even if you didn't know, even if you had no understand, like, I kind of led into the video. I keep referencing the video. I'm sorry for that, but a lot of the context here comes from the same topic, of course. So if you were not aware of any of the fixing allegations of this, what you saw is an extremely high favorite and high level fighter, grappler, wrestler, just completely do every step of the way the wrong thing to lead to the ultimate finish.
Now that you bring up that first choke, I do want to go back to that because yeah, I do remember in the rewatch I thought that too. I was like, holy shit, he was really trying to give it to him any way possible. Once again, Yadier Davale showcasing, even if his opponent was wanting him to submit him, he was physically unable. So that should just probably tell you where this dude's skill set lies. From what I've heard, again, he did not seem to be in the mix of it, he seemed to be very happy about his performance, and he seems to think that he showed out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, I did want to come back to that too. You're definitely right because he was so happy with himself for this performance here. And now, look, we need to see him against somebody who's actually going to give him a legitimate fight and see how he does with that. Now, I know what you're saying. I know the optics of it, whatever. I mean, because like you don't know how it affects it, I guess, is what I would say to that. Is it's like, maybe if the guy was fighting it a little bit better, then maybe knowing what exactly you should be doing as opposed to trying to counteract something that is blatantly the wrong thing to do might. I don't know. I'm just saying that like Devalle is more of a stand-up guy, he's a knockout guy claiming that he has this ground game working out in a fixed fight. It's like we need to be able to see what the reality of it is, but he certainly didn't seem to be in on it based on just how happy he was with the fact that I've got it on the ground. Yeah, the stuff he was saying was pretty funny. He's like, they asked him, they were like, what DC saying, what did what, like that he was doing the wrong thing down there. So like, did you think that it was going to be that type of fight, whatever? And he was just like, well, he's got a really broad back.
Mm,
Like, oh, okay.
all
Well,
right,
so there you
nice.
go.
Yeah, so
Question answered.
this one's going to be interesting because obviously Diwali is seeing all this stuff too. He is part of the fight fixing. I mean, he's not necessarily at fault, but he is a participant in the fight that has been fixed. So in some manner, some way, I mean, he's involved. So something's going to have to happen with him. Excuse me. Something's going to have to happen with him. I mean, it's not going to be necessarily bad per se, but like I don't know what's going to be said, what's going to be asked, because clearly somebody's going to have to like ask him, like, were you in on this? Like, and he's going to unfortunately have to feel like like my win is not actually my win. This dude really just gave me one, and they're even asking if I'm involved in it. It's like that's so disrespectful. As a professional athlete, I come out here and I compete for this, and now as a prospect, I'm now part of the one of the largest betting scandals in the UFC as of right now. Like, so kind of sucks to be him because he is going to be looped into this like for the remainder of it. So.
You're exactly right. Absolutely. 10,000% right. Yeah. This is a victim of circumstance, based on what we know now. I mean, who knows what the reality is? We'll find out perhaps, but you're absolutely right. I mean, this person unwittingly going into a fight, doing his job, doing exactly what he is in this organization to do. Now, one of the biggest betting scandals in modern MMA history, perhaps, as it unfolds, we'll see just how big it becomes. But you're exactly right as well that, yeah, I mean, he's going to have to be questioned and investigated. All of his people are going to have to be investigated. It's what we were talking about earlier in the episode, where it's like how far out does the investigation reach? Because you have the fighter, you have their teams, you have the employee. Well, I wanted to, I didn't even mention this, but like brainstorming in my own mind before this episode started, I was like, depending on how deep you want to get into the conspiracy of this, who's to say that there was not the guy who is sweeping the locker rooms finds out that there's something and he runs out and sends a text message and that sends you know what I'm saying? Like, granted, that sounds a little far-fetched, but my point is, how far does the dynamics of this thing reach to the point that like where can you stop with the questioning?
No,
Like
I agree.
I mean, you made it. It was kind of in jest, but you make a good point too about every person in the apex. I mean, like it's crazy to think about, but where does it end? It just it's hard to say. So.
Yeah, no, this one is one of the more interesting situations, and I'm very excited to see what goes on for it. What else is there to say? We just gotta wait for more things to be uncovered. Hopefully, people that were making the claims on Twitter actually are the people that they say they are, and they actually have some relevant information that is actually gonna be corroborated by whoever is investigating it. FBI sounds crazy. Once again, I tend to be skeptical when it comes to things like that because you got to be like a fucking terrorist for these people to care. Like,
Nah, no. This is definitely FBI level, man, because this is federal. This is interstate commerce, that this affects. Like, this is the exact kind of stuff that the FBI it is designed for. So yeah, no,
Okay.
this absolutely is an FBI level case here. And we've seen it. We've seen it before. We've seen it in baseball. We've seen it now in basketball several times. I mean, this is what the FBI does, is this exact type of thing. So in fact, shout out to Hydra from earlier saying that, a while back, this is during the original discussion, saying that like, the FBI investigation is like a couple people in Rochester pushing
Yes, I
pencils,
saw that. Yeah.
but that's kind of legit too. I mean, who knows what the level of the actual like boots on the ground is going to be with it. But this is something that is this is not going to go away very quickly, I will say. So keep your ears and eyes open. Of course, we're going to report on it as much as the information comes out. But and back to your other point, and this will be the last thing I say about it. Yeah, you brought up a very good one that hadn't been raised. Who is this Harry Mack person? Can we actually get some validation of what, this person? Another thing Hydra said, is like, I guess I'll start a Twitter account and just say some stuff that sounds plausible. You know what I mean? It's like, who is this guy?
It's like, and Ariel brings it up and has corroborated that story, but it's also like, once again, Ariel is just a guy at a desk, just
Yeah,
like anybody else receiving Twitter notifications. I mean, one person that could be his super legit source could literally be crazy fucking Kev. So who fucking knows? So
exactly. Which is why you should get all of your MMA news from Yama and last week's fights. I think that's what we're really getting at the end of the day.
yeah, every Friday, I don't know if you guys knew, most Fridays, we will be recapping all the news of the week of these mixed martial arts tragedies and comedies for the week. So make sure you guys come by and stop and give a like and subscribe to that.
Absolutely, most definitely. So, yeah, I mean, that's really about all that you have for the actual fight itself of this thing. I mean, the only other little minor points I have was that, I thought it was funny that finally Minty Betts actually gets one right. She chose under 2.5 for this fight, so congratulations. um,
No,
and
Minty Betts is legit. Let me actually stand on business real quick. She actually bet Ankalaev over 2.5 against Alex Bajeda, which is kind of big brained as fuck for that win. So either way,
for the original, yeah.
for the original, yeah, it was
True,
pretty good.
true. Fair enough. Fair enough. Then I'll give Minty a pass on that. Plus, she looked amazing on the broadcast on Saturday. So that's
Fair.
besides the point. And the other, really, the only other big note was that I had is that, like, if you see Dulgarian in his pre-fight, the shadow boxing that they show the clips of, it was like you could see maybe a little shiftiness. Maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much. And then also I said, God, I wish that they had actually showed the walkout for this. I would have loved to have seen what his demeanor was as he was
Hmm.
walking to the cage. This was one of those ones that we just came right into the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing too much more to say, I don't think. This one was just interesting all around.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked it to death. So that's the information that we have right now. Stay tuned for the rest.
Hell yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe we talked it to death just so we didn't have to talk about this fight. This is Jeremiah Wells versus Temba Garimbo. This fight fucking sucked.
Yeah, very, very sucked. I'll tell you that. But I think what's crazy is that Timba didn't win. I thought this was an easy win for Timba. I'm not very sure. Again, I went to the bathroom, coming back expecting to hear Timba be on the mic. If you were here last Monday, you obviously heard me make a horrible big brain take about Timba getting a submission. Everybody on this card decided to get a submission other than Timba Garimbo. So take
True.
that as you will. Timba Garimbo should have won this fight, though. I'm not sure how he lost, but once again, um, go buy your own home. The Rock ain't gonna give you one, buddy. So that's all I gotta say.
Glad you mentioned that. Commentary did confirm that Temba is still living in the Rock House. However, Fitzgerald calls it a house and Bisbing calls it an apartment. The plot thickens, perhaps. I don't know. I'm just saying what I heard.
Okie dokie.
I don't know. I want to see this thing. What does this house look like?
It's an apartment complex.
I mean, is it? This is what I'm saying. I want to see. Give me some validation that this thing actually exists, because this could be a big psyop here. This might be a massive mind control type of deal to all make us like The Rock more going into the Smashing Machine. The conspiracy theory writes itself.
And if you guys didn't know, we did a full review of the Smashing Machine on this channel. So please make sure you go watch that and leave a like. We would love it.
Indeed, number one source of Smashing Machine content on YouTube right here. But yeah, so I mean, as far as this fight goes, I think that the reason that Temba did not win is because this was a sloppy, grindy wrestle flop fest between both of them, and both of them were having moments. The way I describe this fight is that it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back for each of them at different times. So like one guy would get a little bit of an advantage, he would not take advantage of it, he would get into a submission position and not finish the submission, and then it would switch and flop the other way. And that just kept going through the entirety of this fight. It was very back and forth, not in an entertaining way, just in a control and positioning way.
Yeah, no, this one definitely didn't have anything that's worth mentioning. This was two dudes fighting, um, and not much of it was great. I can tell you that Timba definitely was slowing down. I mean, he was gassing towards the end of the fight, but I still believe that he was up and he was winning this one. But I actually think it's better for him not to win this one because I don't think his skill is elevated past his last performance. You know, if everybody won and lost every time they performed their best and didn't perform better, you know, they would all have rocky roads or whatever. It's not that he needs to have a perfect performance every time, but um, he this was the you know he just came off a submission loss. Before that, he was on a decent streak where he kind of had it all together, facing different range and competition, which are mostly low level. Jeremiah Wells is also that low level competition, but now it seems like you've lost your edge to be able to get a unanimous decision win. So you're stepping down the ladder here, Temba. And I'm, and I already wasn't excited to watch you fight. So
Well, yeah, I mean, you're stepping down the ladder and also with the same level of cocky slash confidence, the cockiness level. I mean, they literally said on commentary that he said, in no uncertain terms, I will finish this fight. I am going to finish this man. Like, it was like, look, if you're going to say those types of things, I did a whole video on why people don't like Temba Garimbo. Maybe this should have been part of it. It's like, if you're going to say those types of things, then you got to back it up. You got to at least back it up to the point that you're not getting, this type of a loss. I mean, this is a decision loss. You can't even get a decision win. It's you're doing yourself no favors with it because he's got that intensity. He's got like there's that kind of archetypical like African pride sort of thing. I think that some fighters from the region have, where it's like they've got that like they'll look you dead in the eyes and be like, I am going to finish this fight. That type of thing where they're like really pounding it at you. You gotta do that though.
yeah.
And you notice that the guys who don't do that are the guys that actually are doing that. Teba Gautier not doing that.
The thing that is more interesting than the fight itself is the statement that Timba Garimbo made about the project that he had started to get a library built in his home country. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, well, I definitely did talk about that in the video. That's a while old now, but yeah, I mean the shadiness surrounding Temba Garimbo's library project is definitely noted. I don't know how much actually, if there was a scam involved in that, who the investors were, if there was actual investments, but the gist of it for anybody who doesn't know is that Temba Garimbo was going to be establishing a library in Zimbabwe, where he is. Where he's from, I believe. And that never ended up happening. Apparently, he claims that it was 3/4 of the way complete and then just fell through at the last minute. And it's like, yeah,
Well,
3/4 of a building.
the thing that I would just like to talk about before moving on is that he wanted to do what he wanted to do with his money. That is why he stopped making the library. Why didn't you think about that before you built 3/4 of a library and then tore it down? If you wanted to do things with your own money and not for other children, I guess. Like where did it all go wrong? Was The Rock wanting you to build a lot? Hey, I'll give you a place to stay if you build a library in Zimbabwe. I don't know if that's necessarily what had happened, but I bought an apartment complex. I'll give you one of them to rent. Like, I don't know how this all works, but this is more and more what it's seeming to be. But either way, Timba Garimbo, boring performance, boring fight. Kind of glad he lost because maybe he'll actually perform better, but he won't. He's going to perform like this every single time, every single time.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be, kind of like that. I mean, there's potential for maybe different, perhaps, depending on who the opponent is. But Jeremiah Wells coming back after a long layoff, just now getting himself right. This should have been one that would have, this you could have Jeremiah Wells could have chalked this up to being, oh, I'm a little bit rusty. I'm, ring rust or whatever. I'm just getting myself back acclimated to being, an active member of the sport. Take the loss. Nobody's, none the wiser. Everything's fine. Everybody goes away okay with that outcome. Now you end up with this on the record. Definitely does not look good for a person who already has a lot of heat on him for various reasons.
Yeah, this fight actually just should have been down on the prelims, to be fair.
Well, I did want to say shout out to the Apex. You know, the Apex gets a lot of shit in this sport, but this was the only environment where this fight could have sounded like the crowd was hype. Because if you listen to the way that the crowd was going for this fight and the corners and everybody, that small room, it was echoing with people yelling for this one. And if it had been in an arena, you would have been hearing crickets.
You know, it's actually quite funny too. I remember saying about the Apex before this week is like, it's the Apex. You know, we should expect a lot of finishes that people are going to go on Twitter and cry that we didn't get to see in a big crowd that we're supposedly going to forget. But as it stands, we get finishes and we had a good weekend. And I'm not going to forget the finish that Yadier Davale got. So
I was going to say, I mean, I was thinking that we should probably come up with some kind of name for this event because this is like, you know, I don't know, the Black Saturday or
the
something like
gate,
that.
what's the
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess Fix Gate or something like that, right? I mean, you know, Dulgarian Gate.
nice
Either way, you know,
Dole gate?
Dolgate, yeah, something along those lines. You know, chat. You can throw some suggestions in there if you got them. But either way, yeah, this, you know, whatever. That fight was what it was. Also, I did think again, second time that DC had a little shade thrown at him. This time, I think it was inadvertent. But Jeremiah Wells during his interview said, "I appreciate it. The staff, everybody's been so great. I appreciate everybody, even you, DC." And he was
Nice.
like, why wouldn't you appreciate me? But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, let's move on to the co-main event here. I'm sure I know that you've got a lot to say about that. Of course, all of this overshadowing, all of the Dulgarian stuff overshadowing this instance here, which was another little bit of craziness that might get lost in the shuffle, but definitely deserves a conversation. Had the fight fixing scandal not been a legitimate thing that has now rocked this sport, this would have been your big story of the event. This is Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ante Delia.
I think it's funny is because you assume I have a lot to say, but everything that I have to say, everybody already knows. I mean, they watched the same thing that I did. They witnessed what I saw, and that's why. Listen,
Well, spell it out for the people, Chase.
listen, nobody has anything to say anymore because the answer was written on the wall. Waldo Cortez Acosta got poked in the eye, not just poked, but raked, just as bad, if not worse, than the so called champion of the division, Tom Aspinall. Ante Delia is the teammate of Mr. Tom Aspinall, who apparently, according to himself, has had 33 pro fights. He has never poked anybody in the eye. Um, well, story goes, he pokes Mr. Waldo in the eye. Fight gets stopped. Fight gets started roughly 37 minutes later, and Waldo finishes Ante Delia with a bomb of a right hand that sits him down and finishes him. Now, the reason I spell it out for you, and the reason that you guys already know what the inevitable answer coming is that Waldo Cortez Acosta clearly is a man amongst boys. This is a sport for people to go out here and show what they're made of. You know, put people on notice that, you know, I'm not gonna get walked over. You know, you can poke me in the eye, but I'm going to whoop your ass after that, you know. And Walter and Waldo, you know, one of the most harmless heavyweights, and that's what's even more perfect to it too. You know, harmless in a sense that he is always almost a shoo-in for a decision. He's never really going to push that extra level to get that finish. You know, he did against Lucas Brzeski and Ante Delia. And you know what's crazy to me is that even the most average, and this is the point, and this is the point that I made about Tom Aspinall and other people made as well, is even the most average, even the lowest level people in your own division have enough courage and guts to go ahead and go on with the fight after it doesn't go their way. You know, eye pokes happen. And if Tom Aspinall doesn't want to agree with that statement, okay, why are you training with people who eye poke? I mean, that's another thing that made it made it interesting too is Tom Aspinall and a lot of other people wanted to point fingers, no pun intended, that Cyril Gane and the French community are dirty fighters. Mate, I just watched the dude you train with. You should have trained eye pokes with him apparently. So
Not only that, a person who before this fight, speaking about the Tom Aspinall fight, clearly said, "I've never poked anybody in the eyes. I've had plenty of fights, and I've never done it."
yeah,
And immediately does it in this fight.
yeah. So it is definitely interesting. And what this does is one, it makes everybody know that what the truth is. I mean, we all watch the same thing. We watched Waldo Cortez Acosta have no issue. I mean, he did have issue, but it took him a little bit. You know, he was milking it, and this is the perfect milk job. You want to talk about milking it for Tom Aspinall, milking his eye patch and going to go on a social media run and make sure he gets all this different extra PR stuff, Nina drama fucking shit. Waldo takes his opportunity, milks his eye poke, gets some extra time, sits on a stool, comes back in here, gets his finish, does the little eye poke after. You know, he's building a story. This is what we've needed in heavyweight, not just somebody who is a knockout beast who's going to come in here and do everything, where the story is telling itself, where everybody has so much hype behind them. No, the story writes itself, because Waldo, the most average, the most generic, the most all around heavyweight you have right now, nothing special, nothing more, was able to do something that the champion was unwilling to do. Therefore, I must see the matchup. Put it in ink right now. He leapfrogs back over Pavlovich because of this performance right here. Pavlovich may have beat him, but Waldo against Tom has to happen now, because Tom Aspinall clearly, I mean, listen, Waldo was just willing to do something that the champion was not. And if you are the champion, I can't think of other instances where that is the case, unfortunately. Like, I just can't think of off the top of my head. It's like, oh, well, such and such was, I mean, Islam was unwilling to fight Ilya, but that's a different case. You know, that's different situations. This is the fight that was happening. And in the moment, Tom Aspinall decided not to go on. RDR against Brendan Allen was unwilling to just go on with the fight. And that's not something that a top contender is going to do. I mean, yeah, let me see the day where Pantoja just fucking throws in the towel. Like, are we fucking stupid? Like, I watched DDP get held down and nullified for 25 minutes. And as infuriating as that probably was for him, he still did not quit. And, you know, that was one of the most uh, unimpressive matchups for somebody, and they yet still were willing to endure the embarrassment of that. You know, at least he was, I don't know. It's just crazy to me that people stood up for Tom, and not that they stood up for him. That's not the crazy part. The crazy part is we only had to wait 1 week for you guys to understand how stupid you were. Like, literally, this is the prime example of somebody who just understood the assignment. And Waldo Cortez Acosta, once again, becoming the man to crush everybody's dreams. So,
All right, look, I let you go and say all of those things because that is, of course, the conversation surrounding this, and I don't need to necessarily relitigate the entire circumstances with Aspinall and all of that. This is the counter argument that certainly, as you let in with all of this, that is what that all of that is the counter argument, and it is very crazy, poetic justice almost, in a way that you get that immediately following as it happens. So interesting on that note. My bigger the bigger viewpoint that I have on this the circumstances of all of this was the handling of the non-finish. So just to put it into context here, basically what happened in this fight was, you kind of described it. I'll go through it just very
yeah.
quickly. Waldo is getting, so they're wall stalling, they're clinched up for a second, whatever. D'Elia does what I kind of expected him to do, which was go in with the intensity that he had in his initial fight, where he just thought he was going to be able to overwhelm Waldo with strikes. And visually speaking, I mean, he kind of was doing that, except for the fact that he had poked him in the eye at one point. So you posted the replay in the Discord, very clear image of him, extending the finger like past to like make the eye poke happen. So really very clear cut here. This was definitely an eye poke. Waldo signals that he got poked in the eye. D'Elia continues to punch on. Mark Smith finally realizes, I guess he noticed that Waldo is holding the face, and he steps in, but does not wave off the fight. Crucial to note here, as the commentary was saying, doesn't wave it off. Either way, though, the team of D'Elia thinks that he won the fight. They're celebrating. The doctors come in. Then the entire world comes in at that point. I
Mhm.
mean, the doctors are in there, the commission people are in there. It
The
looked like
stool.
the stool is the biggest point. I mean, Waldo was sitting down on the stool. It looked like the fight had ended. They confirmed it was an eye poke based on the replay system, and then commentary says they have confirmed that they cannot restart the fight. And I was like, well, but
Love how they confirmed that, by the way.
exactly. They confirmed it, and then later on, like maybe only a couple minutes later, they say, "Oh no, wait, actually, they are going to restart the fight." So it's like Waldo is like, as you had said, he's like screaming. He's really selling it a little bit. Fair enough, whatever. Maybe it did hurt that bad. I don't care what the actuality of this for this conversation at least is. But he's on the stool. The entire Apex is inside of the cage with him. They finally decide that it was an eye poke. They confirmed that. They start the fight again. Waldo bombs him with the overhand right immediately, gets the knockout, all of that. Crazy how that all shifts, whatever. But I thought it was great that the fight continued. I am glad. I'm glad that they are generally now, we talk about these metas. The new meta seems to be that they are going to continue the fights. They mentioned the Neil Magny fight that got continued. We had another one just recently that was similar circumstances with that. I am glad that they are choosing to continue fights when fights should be continued. However, going back to another original point we had made, consistency. Give me consistency. Fitzgerald on the broadcast says, you never know, folks. And I said, no fucking shit. This is the problem. We need consistency in the way that these things are handled. If there was any question that this fight could be restarted, you don't sit the guy down on the stool. The only people who should be in there are the doctors, if the doctors are even needed at that time. Commission people should definitely not be in there. You can't control the team, but you should probably have somebody from the commission saying, hey, get off the cage. The fight is still on. It's a quick instance. It's something that has to happen quickly, but we need consistency in how these things are handled.
What I will say is, uh, you know, poetic justice is a great way to look at it. What I will say is that as soon as the eye poke happened and the fight is stopped, and there's a sense of potential that this fight could go on, there is no doubt in my mind that Waldo's first thought was, "Fuck, I can't bitch out because I am never gonna hear the end of it, and if I don't, I look better than the champ as of right now." Like in a world, there are going to be people out there who are going to say, "I have more balls than the champ because
Well,
I will continue right now."
and that's what I was going to say. I think it's actually both of those things at the same time. It's him saying like, I definitely I can't not fight. I mean, that should be the normal default for fighters, of course, is that I'm going to fight regardless. But then on the other side, it's like, oh yeah, and also if I sell it a little bit more, like it looked like a bad enough poke. It was definitely deep enough, whatever. I mean, it was a poke. A poke is a poke. I mean, they are bad. There's levels to it, but still, getting poked in the eye sucks. So it's like, but he was like, yeah, if I kind of amplify how much this looks like it hurts, then when I do continue to fight, I look 20 times better. And he did have a lot to say to Tom Aspinall after this fight during his interview as well.
Mhm.
He said, Tom Aspinall, this is how you do it. Very colorful language coming out of Waldo regarding the champ. So, I
Yeah.
think a mission accomplished, I guess.
Yeah, this was definitely fun. It, it's just funny too, going back to the Tom Aspinall thing, just because I have to speak my piece, because genuinely it makes me, it's just crazy that people were going through such lengths. I'm looking at pictures of Tom Aspinall's eyes at the hospital, and I don't see anything wrong with them. Like, why would you even show me that? Because there's nothing wrong with the eyes, and it's people are like, oh, you don't know what he's. Come on, it could be hurting somewhere. It's like Waldo posted a picture of his eye. It's bloodshot red. Still is to this day. Hmm.
Yeah, but I
Hmm.
mean, my point was that you should not be the cheater, and that was, I mean, and again, we don't need to go back all through every single point of all of this, but that, I mean, like, had Waldo decided to quit, obviously under the circumstances he was not going to, but had he, D'Elia would have been in the wrong, and he was in the wrong. So I mean, that's always where I'm coming from: is don't commit the foul, and none of this is a problem. But I understand both sides.
No, but D'Elia was going to commit his foul, and he was 100% okay with getting a TKO finish. I don't know. I know you posted it, but I don't know if the chat had known. But Ante D'Elia has responded to this controversy, and so what's funny about the controversy is that, again, like I just said, is like he was perfectly okay getting an illegal strike and then winning by TKO, but he is perfectly unwilling to. Oh, but
Sorry, yeah.
he's perfectly unwilling to admit that he got played in the way that he was willing to play. He wanted to get the illegality to win the fight, but when the fight gets restarted in an illegal way ish or unethical way, and then he loses, now he's mad. But his whole point of his argument is, I didn't see no eye poke. I finished him. You guys told me I won. Okay, well you did eye poke him. So you wanted the benefit after you cheated. Waldo gets to come up and he gets a benefit of taking a rest, but now you're mad and he didn't have to. I mean, he didn't even have to cheat. I mean, that's the commission's fault that he got to do all that shit. So if you want to think that you didn't eye poke him, if you think that it was an unfair stoppage, if you think you thought you won the fight, you weren't understanding what's going on, mate. Hate to break it to you, tough shit. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you shouldn't have eye poked him.
Oh no, no, for sure. Dalia handled that response. The response that Chase is referring to is he like came out with this like multi-point response where it was like 1 through 6 or something like that. It was down the line patently ridiculous. This was an
Mm.
absolutely atrocious way to respond to what happened in this circumstance here. So yeah, Dalia did himself absolutely no favors with how he responded.
100%. So yeah, this one is. I mean, unfortunately, it got overshined by the betting scandal, but this one is definitely one of those ones where you watched everybody get what they were getting. I don't know. Like it was just perfect synergy with the Earth. As Tom Aspinall doesn't decide to fight, random slob heavyweight decides to fight after the exact same situation, and people be like, "Oh, it's two eye pokes versus one." Okay, okay. Sure. Okay. Tom Aspinall's still blind in one eye, right? Okay. I'm sure. I'm just still. Anyway, it's
No,
just.
no, I hear you. Look, I hear you, and and again, like you had said, had the Dulgarian situation not happened, perhaps we'd be having a much larger and longer debate about this whole thing. But I mean, yeah, yeah, I do think that it is a pretty crazy one-upping of the champ for sure. It definitely makes Tom Aspinall look not great, on top of how people already were thinking about him. That was instantly going to be the conversation when Waldo went back into that fight after the way that things went down. Circumstances of it with the commission were kind of wild, but the fact remains this is a bad look for the champ. On top of however you felt about the actual initial incident with Tom. So yeah, this definitely puts like Waldo kind of gave himself aura.
Mhm.
Even in a weird roundabout way. I mean, not only getting the knockout after a weird, wacky set of circumstances, but then also having now this big one-upsmanship of the current champion. I think you got to give him his respect.
I mean, Waldo's a fighter. I mean, this is what the fight game is all about. It's wanting to fight in any sort of adversity, and Waldo is truly one of those people that I'd say. I mean, listen, we have stacked him up against who we thought was going to be the next heavyweight king in Robelis Despagne, and he had no fear and went up against that, and he was able to take him on and make it a very uninteresting matchup for lack of better terms, but he was able to win, and he's still consistently able to pull off wins. The Pavlovich performance, I think, was, I don't know, interesting oddball situation, because as you can see, he has the potential to do other things, and when you're a heavyweight with knockout ability, apparently you could just be the greatest of all time. So
Well, perhaps he has potential to be that now. We'll see what they decide to do after all of this. I think that the UFC is going to be pulled in a lot of directions for a little while, but perhaps Waldo shooting himself right back into the conversation with all of this.
yeah, 100%.
Um, yeah, it's checking to see if there was any other stuff I wanted to get to now, and I think that is about it for that one. All right, cool. Then
Yeah.
let's move on to the main event. This is Steve Garcia versus David Onama. Uh, yeah, I mean, this is a very one-sided performance here. Not the fight that I think a lot of people were expecting out of Onama.
So when you were talking about the Isaac Dulgarian never being finished and what I had said in the Discord, I was actually referring to Onama. I don't know if you had realized that as well. He has also never been finished. He is teammates of Isaac Dulgarian, which I
Ah,
think is why it gets even a little sketchier when you pull up this main event. And now you have a first round knockout. Listen, for a guy who's never been finished. I know Steve Garcia is a guy who packs a punch. I don't want to take anything away from him, but when you do factor in these other things, I mean, one should also be suspicious of this one as well. But needless to say, Steve Garcia puts on a masterclass. I mean, one round of pure great striking, uh, undeniable great head movement from Steve Garcia, always mixing stuff up. The striking is always long combinations that have different shots coming at different angles. This is the moment. Oh my god, DC's fucking glaze got so fucking bad in this fight. It was so the coaches for David Onama like started yelling out like left hook, and then DC's like, oh my god, they did it. They noticed every time Steve Garcia punches, he lifts up his right leg. Holy shit. Oh my god. And then
Yeah.
he immediately just gets a finish. And it's like, yeah, DC. I'm glad he picked up on that.
Right.
The
Yeah.
coaching did him so good.
They figured him out. They had the tell.
Like, dude, that shit pissed me off so much. Like, even in
Yeah.
the replay, I'm like, can you like shut up? Like, oh my god. Like, ugh.
Well, I mean, that's not necessarily glaze of Garcia, though, right? I mean,
No, it was glaze of David Onama.
right. Yeah.
And then he gets finished. It's like
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the issue here, look, you're right about Steve Garcia. Well, this is exactly what we had said. This, I mean, certainly not the way we thought, but the attributes were what we had said about Steve Garcia. I mean, his boxing is amazing. His shot combinations and the shot selection is fantastic. I had said that I thought he was going to be a little bit faster than Onama. We didn't need to see too much of that. In fact, the first note that I had was I thought that both guys seemed a little flat to me. Honestly, I thought that Steve was doing it more so because he was throwing with power and didn't have to evade a whole bunch, and Onama was doing nothing. You mentioned that this might be the other fight that could possibly be one that's in question. Certainly seemed suspicious to me. I mean, Onama did not throw. I mean, two total strikes for Onama. I mean, versus 43. This is a one-round fight for sure. And granted, it was finished in the first, but you look at what Onama was doing. He was just pumping out a weak jab, and that was it. It was almost like not even an actual jab. It was more just like, the motion of a jab. Like, he didn't even look like he was really putting any kind of power behind it. That was the entirety of what he did in this fight. He didn't move very much. He was going along with what Garcia was doing to try to keep himself in somewhat of a striking range, I guess. But like, Garcia was landing with power. He kept landing. He got the head kick, goes for the heavy power shots, and he finally gets the finish. Onama did nothing in this fight. So
yeah.
it certainly would raise some red flags to me.
Yeah, I mean, this card ended with this fight, and it's not like it was lackluster, but unfortunately, when you have somebody who's a finisher and they're able to actually finish other people who are top level competition, I mean, you could potentially end up with something like this. But for somebody who's never been finished, who's never been, in a position where I thought he was going to be in the brink of death against, Steve Garcia. I mean, and to be fair, it's not even like he got flatlined either. I mean, it was just one of those ones where it's like, okay, he stopped it because he wasn't returning fire at all. Like, so it does make you question. I'm not seeing anybody talk about this one, but I remember rewatching the Isaac Dulgarian fight, and the first thing they say when the thing starts is he's teammates of David Onama. And I said, the other guy who got finished in the first round, ain't that? But the thing about this one is there's no money to be made. Steve Garcia round one knockout is like, but maybe this was like, this is the
Shit,
more believable one.
and you parlay the two of those together, that's even more money.
True, fair.
So I mean, that's, there's plenty of ways to make that work. I mean, and even look, if it's a sure thing, even short money is good money. You know what I mean?
True,
So,
fair.
but yeah, no, yeah, this was, you're certainly right. It said that, yeah, it's gonna be a quiet flight back to Denver for these two gentlemen now with all of the heat that is being generated here.
No, they'll probably have handcuffs or something rattling.
Yeah, for real. A nice welcome party at the airport waiting for him. But yeah, I go back to the same point. Mark Montoya, I don't want to throw him into the mix of all of this, but sadly, as you alluded to with Yadier Del Valle, you're part of it whether you like it or not, and
Mhm.
and it sucks. It sucks. It sucks for everyone that when this kind of thing happens now. But Mark Montoya, he better be tightening the ship over at Factory X now. I mean, like, because as I had said, I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. Factory X has a lot of high level fighters coming out of it. I mean, like, this is a known gym in this sport. Like, this is one of the larger ones. This is up there with Team Alpha Male. This is as big of a competitor's breeding ground as you get in this sport, Factory X. So, you hear people all the time talking about training out in Denver for the elevation. So, I mean, I just really hope that this is not one of those things that ends up really tearing down a quality institution, if that's the case. But the optics of this are terrible.
Yeah.
for Mark Montoya and his program right now. So just putting that one out there, and we will see what ends up coming from it. But as you kind of alluded to, yeah, I mean, this was also one that that did raise a couple of red flags based on the navigation from Onama.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, yeah, the other things that I had for this were, Garcia calls out Max Holloway, kind of a weak call out, but better than John Silva calling out Holloway, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't like the call out on this one, but Steve Garcia, I mean, call out whoever you want. We know you're not getting that, and we know you're probably just going to get, some Diego Lopez is fine. We'll see what happens.
Sure, yeah, and then shout out to John Dong who was on the watch along. He said that Garcia versus John Silva was one that he thought would be interesting. So
Fair.
could see that. And then the very, very last thing that I had for this was just kind of a strange thing. I respect the sentiment, but it still made me kind of scratch my head. Did Steve Garcia say that Charlie Kirk said he was going to be at his fight?
I did not catch that. Interesting.
So if you're not aware, then what Steve Garcia had a message that I myself echoed when the unfortunate Charlie Kirk incident happened. Basically he kind of had we're all Americans, left or right, like let's just come together. We need to be better than this kind of thing. All good, but he had said he kind of framed it in a weird way. He was like, I had this friend that got gunned down 3 weeks ago, and he said he was going to be here with me, but 3 weeks later he's gone, and like he was framing it that way, and then he was like, best wishes to the Kirk family, and it was like, did I? It was
Maybe Kurt family.
I it
Maybe
may
it was like a personal friend, like for like 3 weeks ago. I mean, that wasn't.
yeah, as I say, maybe I look, if that is the case, then okay, maybe it was just a coincidence that sounded similar, but it was just a little bit strange if that's what he was doing. Because I mean, that's why it was like the whole like we're Americans thing. I think is left because he was like left and right. We just got to come together. That kind of. And again, I appreciate the sentiment. It was just an
Mhm.
odd way to frame it.
Yeah. Interesting. I'll have to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah, check it out and let me know what you think. But anyway, that's it for. I mean, God, we talked this one through a whole hell of a lot because there was a lot to talk about. But that was UFC Fight Night, Garcia versus Onama. I mean, I guess how do you really have a full picture of this after talking it through without all of the fixing stuff? But I guess what did you think of this event? However you wanted to define it.
8 out of 10.
Really, I mean that high for this thing,
Oh,
like
the scandal, I was gonna give a 10. I mean, this is a 10 out of 10 entertainment, but
oh with
like
the yeah
8
with the
out of 10, we had a lot of submissions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you include the scandal, then this definitely was one that you could not miss. So,
Mhm.
sure, I guess I'll
Even
go with that.
without the scandal, just having the Waldo moment, I mean, that could have been a 10 out of 10 right there. It's like, dude, Waldo really just told Tom he's a fucking punk. Like,
Yeah, and again, very unfortunate that that moment is it's highly overshadowed by everything else in a
didn't
way.
have any time for it to ferment either. It was like Tom eye poke, and it's like even before he could have 6 months to milk his blind vision, it's like Waldo steps in as a fucking man.
Yeah, and then fucking less than an hour before that, Dulgarian steals all the
Yeah,
thunder. So yeah, okay, well, I mean, I whatever. I didn't think that the fights were overly great on this thing, but of course the narrative wins out. So definitely one that is this is honestly kind of history making in
yeah,
the big picture if you really think about it. So remember this night, whatever we're calling it, Dulgarian Gate or Dull Gate or the Black Saturday, whatever you wanted to call it. Just always remember UFC Vegas 110 because this is one that's gonna have repercussions for years to come, I would say.
100%.
All right. Well, after that very long winded conversation about that, I mean, we've still got this week coming up. So, next up on the docket is UFC Fight Night Bonfim versus Brown. This is Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown coming up this weekend. What do you think about this one?
Oh gosh, I don't really care for either of these guys, but to make it simple, I'm gonna take Gabriel Bonfim by submission because Randy Brown is gonna get taken down and lay on his back because he's good at that.
You don't think that the height of Randy Brown is going to make that a difficult thing for Bonfim?
No, Bonfim arguably lost to Wonder Boy, but I think Bonfim will just be able to take him down. I don't think Randy Brown's gonna be able to navigate this well enough.
Yeah, Gabriel is the better Bonfim brother, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. So there is potential for that. I want to believe that Randy Brown's movement is going to be a problem for Bonfim. I think that Randy Brown utilizes his length very well. He's actually one of the people, like if you ask me, like who manages distance well with with their size. I would say that Randy Brown is among the people I would name for that. So I
this dude
think
got subbed by Jack Della Maddalena. Holy crap! Like, gosh damn, yeah. If you can't get subbed by a submission specialist, but
I mean, Jack Della Maddalena, who is the great white hope of Australia right now, who's going to beat the pound for pound best fighter in the world, Jack Della Maddalena. Come on, brother.
true. Who's this dude, Michael Graves? You ever heard of this guy?
Yeah,
Also subbed Brandy Brown. But either way,
that's a long time ago, though. That has to
true.
be. Yeah, that's got
Yeah.
to be early on in his career. But fair enough. I mean, look, is it potentially possible? Absolutely. I mean, Bonfim is that these Bonfim brothers are very much your Brazilian submission guys. They get striking in there a little bit. I mean, Bonfim was trying to stand with Wonder Boy for parts of that fight. So, I could it happen? Sure. I'm riding with Randy Brown on this one. He's a dude who has been around for a lot longer than you would think. His record speaks to that. 20-6. He's he's been in the organization a long time, a lot of experience, and he will have the size on him. Just keep moving, keep on your bike is what I would
Hell
say.
yeah.
So that is my prediction there. And as always, you know that Chase and I are streaming to our individual channels as we go through these predictions. Like the stream that you think has the better takes.
Hell yeah.
Co-main event is Matt Schnell
Ass.
and how good Lord, how is this is a co-main event of the evening right here. Matt Schnell versus Joseph Morales. Joseph Morales, if you recall, coming off of the Ultimate Fighter win, where his opponent, who we thought was going to be potentially somebody who would have a longer runway in this career, completely shit the bed. Morales did look good in that fight, but I think that it was more so, because he didn't have a willing dance partner in the skills department. I mean, this is Morales' second run in the organization. Look, is this fight fine? I'm sure it's fine, but for a co-main event slot, this is a little bit weird.
Mate, Matt Schnell got knocked out by Steve Urseg. Like unconscious. Like
But that's when Steve Urseg was still the Urseg of old.
he got submitted by Cody Durden.
Cody Durden is a good submission guy, though.
I mean, listen, Matt Schnell has just been around for a decent amount of time. He's one of these veteran type guys, but like usually veteran status brings you some sort of intangibles. I don't think he has any of them. This is the flyweight Neil Magny, but I don't think you could even classify him like that because Neil Magny could also always pull out a dub apparently, but
Yeah,
this
hell
guy's
no.
not.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not the flyweight Neil Magny. No, no, sir. Yeah, no. I mean, Matt Schnell. Yeah, he is. Talking about the echelons, I would say that he is at the top of the middle, in my opinion. So not elite, just kind of right up there in the upper of the middle. This fight by itself is fine. Like I said, I mean, like that's exactly why this fight is happening, just as you described. I mean, he is a good enough fighter versus a guy who had a really good performance in his last fight, albeit for the Ultimate Fighter win, and a guy who has UFC experience in the past, so somebody that they can reliably say he should come out and put on a good performance. Joseph Morales. This fight will be fine, I think. Will Matt Snell be able to pull it off? I don't think so. I think Joseph Morales will probably take this fight.
100%.
Yeah. I think that Schnell, definitely not Neil Magny levels of being able to pull off those victories anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, I can see that as well. This dude is just not good at all. So I don't see him winning many more at flyweight, let alone being around. He just retired a couple years, like last year against Cody Durden, I'm pretty sure, when he got subbed. So the fact that he's back is not the best sign ever. He's probably going to lose.
Yeah, and I've talked about my feelings on that time and time again. These guys saying that they're retired and coming back. It's like you're giving you talk about tells in this sport. You're giving away that there were problems that you needed to go and fix. And I'm never sold that those problems are actually fixed by a very small amount of time away from the sport. It looks like you were kicking your feet and saying, "Oh, I'm done," and then now you're back.
100%.
So, all right. moving on. This probably should have been the co-main event if there was going to be be any of them. Muslim
No, I'll tell
Salikov.
you the real co-main event, but we're
All right,
getting to it.
fair enough. Muslim Salikov versus Uros Medic. This is a pretty good match, actually. I like this one.
Just take the fight to finish. Medic has never seen the judges. He's a dude that'll just go out there all for it. But Salikov also might just, I don't know, dude. If he gets another wheel kick finish, I mean, Jesus, Lord have mercy.
That would be, yeah, that'd be pretty wild. Yeah, Medic is definitely a killer be killed kind of guy. Salikov is a dude who consistently under expected when it comes to underestimated, I guess you should say. But a guy who will do exactly that. He'll kick your head off of your shoulders. So is there potential for that? Medic needs to close the distance and not let him have the range to do it. But that will leave him open to the striking. So I will cautiously, very, very cautiously say that Muslim Salikov gets this done, but I'm not super confident in it.
No, I'm taking Medic. That's my guy. He's
There you
he's
go.
pretty good.
Yeah, and him getting the job done with this kind of fight. Medic is the level of fighter that should be able to not succumb to the things that Salikov does. You know what I mean? Like there's a couple of guys that he's gotten that off on, and you're like, damn, that's kind of crazy. Medic should not be one of those guys.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah. All right. Well, then there you go. Next up down the line, Chris Padilla. Hey, Taco Pad is back. Chris Padilla versus Ismail Bonfim, the other Bonfim brother.
This one I'm not too sure about because while the Bonfim brother here is the one who got kicked in the head by Sadikov, and you know was a weird stoppage as well because he did get kicked in the face, but it wasn't like he got unconscious or anything. He just kind of you know
It was like one of
whatever.
those delayed reaction ones, though. He kind of like took it and then stumbled and went down.
True, true. So take what you will about that one. Chris Padilla is not necessarily somebody that I have big stock in as well. He got a very good, clean elbow strike. This was to the eye of Rongzu, by the way. Now, talk about a reason to stop the fight. I mean, if a literal bone was like, I don't know, bro, like an elbow to the eyeball is nuts.
Yeah, to this day, still the most perfect elbow to eye connection I have ever seen in the sport.
Well, the second, if that was the most, the second was Ricci on Rebus because that
The-
literally rearranged her faceplate.
yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, literally that is the exact order. Yes.
yeah, so this one, I don't know if I can bank on Padilla doing anything of that sort again. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Bomb Fiend brother, even though both of them are mediocre. I'm taking both of them.
All right. Well, we got a lot of disagreements today. I think that the difference maker here is going to be the doggedness of Padilla. For all of those things that, like, yeah, that might have been a slightly fluky that it connected the way that it did. He is very game, and I think that he's going to be able to bring the fight to Bonfim in a kind of a meaningful way. I would say. Now, Bonfim, they are the grappler guys, so if he's going to try to clinch him up and hold him, that's probably not going to be the way to do it. What I'm hoping for out of Padilla would be to close distance, strike at close range, as opposed to closing distance and level changing. That would be my hope.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that Chris Padilla fought Jai Herbert in between these fights. Yeah, that one was not my favorite, and I'm pretty sure I thought that he lost this one. I'm trying to double check the striking numbers on this one real quick because okay, he might have won that. Either way, I'm gonna go ahead and take Bomb Theme. Taking both of
Yeah,
them.
that's fair enough on that. I'm going to go with Padilla on this one, just for what exactly that I said. I think that there is potential for him to, be in a deep water situation on the ground. He just needs to make sure he doesn't get to that point, and hopefully he did the same thing that he did with Rongju, and he watches tape, so he knows what that one thing that I will definitely give Padilla credit for is that he does what I wish more fighters would do, which is actually research their opponents and know the game plan that they have, because a lot of times it feels like these fighters do not do that. Chris Padilla said specifically that he does. I'm banking on the high big brain, the high IQ.
All right, we're listening to him.
I like it. All right, Ricky Simone versus Hani Barcelos. Is this the one that you thought should be the co-main?
Nope.
Oh wow, then there's actually a couple good fights on this one that are not the co-main event.
Yeah, this one will be fine.
I mean, yeah, I think this one actually has a lot of potential to be really good. Both of these guys are the type that have pulled off really impressive victories that you would have not expected.
Yeah, but I would just like to believe that Ricky Simone in his blonde hair era is on a new level. Hani Barcelos is just old, and again, somebody that has his name in the mix because he beat Peyton Talbot, but nobody cares. Nobody's here to say Honey Barcelos is going to be anything. We're waiting for him to get put back out of the mix because Peyton Talbot is back. Ricky Simone is about to put him out the conversation again, and then we're back. Bantamweight actually has good contenders again. Honey Barcelos is somebody that I'm just not going to put stock into because he's 38 years old. I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, this is my guy. He's going to go out here and keep winning because it's just not going to happen. He's not going to get the belt and he's not going to be my favorite of all time. I just don't have that time in his career. I'm sorry. It's past. Ricky Simone, let's go. We're
But see,
getting on the hype train.
but this is always your fatal flaw, Chase, is thinking that because there's not a higher career trajectory and a higher ceiling that he can't win the fight. Period. All of the trappings of the sport don't matter in the fight itself. I mean, now granted, I'm not taking away from Simone's talent because I do think that he has potential to win this fight. But am I wrong that he is not coming off of a loss?
No, he just beat, it was a black guy. Can't
Oh,
remember.
okay.
Cortavius Romeus, maybe?
Oh well,
No,
that.
Smotherman. Smotherman.
Oh yes, Smotherman. Right, I do remember that fight now. All right. I mean, not
And the Basharov brother, he knocked him out.
true. Fair. Okay. Yeah. I mean, look. Yeah. As I said, I think that Simone is a really very much underrated fighter, which is kind of crazy to think because he's 22-6. So obviously he does have the losses on there.
He's got a win over Marab.
Yeah. How about that? Got a win
Yep.
over possibly the GOAT of the sport. Period. Uh,
So
So yeah, I mean, take all of that as you will. I do think that Simone probably does end up winning this fight. He is not Peyton Talbot. Hani Barcelos, though, what I guess I'll say is that don't be surprised if Hani Barcelos can pull off the unexpected because he is very skilled. He's a guy that can do it. He's a guy that can pull out those victories when you would not expect them to happen. Just because he's 38 does not mean that he does not have that skill set that can get a fight finished.
I'm gonna go ahead and stick with Ricky Simone.
I'm also taking Simone on this one too, actually, but I'm still giving the benefit of the doubt to Hani Barcelos because I got to give love to my old guys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they still can win. We've said we went on a whole run recently, if you recall, where it was a bunch of old guys that were getting a bunch of wins, and I was like, there you go, there you go, there you go. Neil Magny was
Right.
one of them.
Yeah. Angela
So,
Hill too, of
yeah.
course, but she took a loss more
Well,
recently.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, Angela Hill is, she's got a whole thing named after her in my book. But anyway, all right, moving on here. Christian Leroy Duncan versus Marco Tulio. Love
this
this.
is the co-main.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
should be the co-main event right here.
I
Not sure
agree.
why it's not. I mean, Christian Leroy Duncan, obviously just held in Apex prison. They don't want him on pay-per-views, probably because he's a little inconsistent. Marco Tulio, another dude that is fireworks when it comes to striking. This being on the Apex, I think this fight specifically when they're matched up against each other kind of makes sense for an Apex because it's like we could get the greatest fight of all time on the feet, or we could have two dudes standing at range not doing anything. Um, but individually, I really like these guys. But I want to go ahead and take. Oh shit, this is a tough one. I'm gonna take Marco Tulio. I'm gonna take Tulio.
Oh, I'm absolutely taking Tulio. Got a Tulio at a minus 195. That is screaming at me right there. That is like linchpin of the parlay kind of material for me. Christian Leroy Duncan, as you said, kind of inconsistent. A dude who has a solid game plan when he's allowed to have his game plan is what I get
Mhm.
out of Christian Leroy Duncan. He's a guy that like if the fighter that he is fighting is allowing him to get his way, then all things go exactly as he wants them to go. When he starts experiencing adversity, things go very differently. And Marco Tulio is the exact type of guy to bring the fight to him in a way that he does not want. So I'm actually a really big fan of Marco Tulio. I think he's among the, we talk about Steve Garcia being on the come up next wave. I think that Tulio would be in that conversation for me as well, even at 31 years old.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like Tulio, but
Yeah.
I don't want to write out Leroy Duncan too much, guys. To be fair, I'm not making it seem like he has no chance. Like this dude is very good. Also, one of the first dudes that I've, you know what? I'll flip the script right now because Christian Leroy Duncan is one of the dudes that I was first rooting for as of somebody that I realized is a skill set in this game I will go with Christian Leroy Duncan.
You follow your heart all the way, my friend. I will follow my Galaxy Brain. Galaxy Brain St. James over here is sticking with his guns on Tulio. I mean, I really to be more serious about it. Duncan is very creative, so I would not put it past him to maybe be able to pull off a spinning elbow, something like that. Is definitely potentially there. I mean, his kicks are nice. He has some pretty good power in his kicks, but also Tulio has really good power in his too. So. I just see him stack up like skill for skill. Yeah, I'm sticking with Tulio.
100%.
All right, on the prelims here, Hyder Emil versus Jamal Emmers. This is also a good fight. This is actually a pretty good card.
Yeah, it is pretty good. This one's easy for me. Jamal Emmers has got finished by Nate the Train Landwehr, and like that's not somebody that I'm ragging against. That's a very very good fan favorite, but it's definitely a skill threshold that certain people get past, and Hyder Emil, I think, is past that level. This is certainly somebody who is facing his first finish in his mixed martial arts career at the age of 35. Will he recover? Is going to be the main question. I think so.
Fair. I think if you want to go into the details of it, I think if you're going to go with Emmers, then you go by knockout. That was because I think that's really the only method for Emmers, because Hyder Emil is a much more grindier fighter. He is like he will latch onto you and hold you as needed until he can get the shots that he wants, and then he will strike you into oblivion. He's got an amazing gas tank. His cardio is really really good when he's not being compromised by the strikes. So if it's going to happen for Emmers, it's going to be a knockout, I would suspect. So maybe place a straight on Jamal Emmers by knockout, but other than that, I do think that Hyder Emil is going to be the more well-rounded fighter and potentially the winner of this one.
I'm going to go ahead and say that this is going to be for Hyder Emil for sure. But I am looking at the record of Mr. Jamal Emmers, and I do find some interesting things going on here. Back in 2013, he has a split decision win against Alexander Hernandez in Hero FC. Okay, that's
Yeah,
to know. He has a loss to TKO in RFA for a belt against Mr. Tiago Moises. Okay.
these are all
He is
very early on, pre-UFC stuff, right?
Yes, yeah, that was
Okay.
an RFA and then Hero FC. Okay, now here we go. In 2017, he has a unanimous decision against Corey Sanhagen in LFA.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
And then he got knocked out by Julian Erosa on the Contender Series.
Yeah, that one. Look, Juicy J is kill or be killed, so I'm not. That doesn't that all of this kind of tracks. Honestly, I'm not too surprised by any of that what you're listing off here. Maybe the Sandhagen one is a little bit surprising, but yeah, I
Mm,
mean, but how many knockouts does he have, and what's his current streak? He's on a win streak now.
No, it's Candy Cane, like the epitome of Candy Cane.
Okay,
Lost
so
to lost to Giga, win, lost to Pat, win, lost to Jack Jenkins, win, lost to Nate Landwehr. Literally everybody that is a named player has beat him. Anybody that you can literally Kuzian Ashkabov,
right,
yeah,
yeah,
he beat him.
sure,
So
okay. Well, then there you go. I mean, kind of making the point even louder. Yeah, I think that. Again, if you're going to take him, if you want to roll the dice on him, I would say that by finish is probably the way that you want to do it. If you can find a double up that'll give it to you by knockout or decision, then maybe, or if you can get it by knockout or submission, then maybe as well. But Hyder Emil is going to be your better bet here. I would say I'm going with Hyder.
100%, 100%. Jesus.
All right, keeping the train moving here. Adrian Yanez versus Christian Quinones. What are you thinking?
This one, I don't know too much about either of them, but Latino Showdown, we will take the Mexican.
Fair. Quinones, I believe, is this might be his organization debut, possibly, maybe question mark. I thought I might have.
Hell no.
No, not really.
This dude's been around since 2020.
Oh gosh, darn it! Maybe, there's somebody else then that's making their debut that I thought that it might have been him, but because I did a little bit of research on some of these guys that I didn't know, and maybe I guess it was not him, but Christian Quinones. Yeah, I don't. I'm not. He's not
Wait, were
jumping
you
off.
talking about Yanez or
No,
Quinones?
Quinones.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, all
No,
right, cool. Because I was like, wait a second,
well,
what?
he's been around since 2021, so
Oh,
I
oh,
guess it's
well,
not.
all right then.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Double
yeah.
fucked. No, well, I know Adrian Yanez, and I've seen some good stuff out of him. I've seen kind of mixed results at times. He has looked like he's been improving, even though he's been around for a very long time. So it's like you should probably already be improved.
Let me look for a coin real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, these ones are fucking terrible. I would not even think about making a good bet on these ones. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, I'm struggling to. What was Christian Quinones' last fight?
Uh, it was I'm sorry, I just literally looked at it. Honey Barcelos.
So, God, Jesus Christ, this guy is in legit NPC territory for me. I don't think I can tell you a single thing about the dude, and that's very
Yeah.
rare for me. I mean, I'm pretty good with keeping track of, the people who need keeping track of. So for that reason, then I guess I'm going with Adrian Yanez.
I'm taking my Mexican Quinones, man. I'm liking it.
I
I
mean,
think
I
he's got this.
I think that the thought process definitely checks out. When in doubt, go with the Mexican.
There we go. Mexican underdog specifically is actually a pretty good bet. So
True. Yanez, I believe, is Mexican as well. He is, reps America, but I believe that he is of Mexican descent, if I'm not mistaken. So,
true.
but either way, yeah, I'm going. I'll go with Adrian Yanez. I am. We'll leave it at that. All right, moving on. Myro Buenasilva versus Jacqueline Cavalcante. I mean,
Nope.
what became of Myro Bueno Silva? It's like at one point she was riding high. She was challenging for a belt, and now she is way down.
Yep. We're out on her.
Yeah,
We're completely out on MBS. There's nothing to say really. I mean, she just won't perform. She won't perform to the level of her opponent. She doesn't rise to the occasion. And I've seen it multiple times where she's just slipped to the buy side. Like there's just no reason to ever put stock in her.
yeah. No, I agree completely. I mean, we are out of the Myra Bueno Silva business over here. It would seem she's consistently been letting us down. I mean, she's like she again. This is a title challenger at one point here, and just consistently now backsliding and backsliding and backsliding, and then having the nerve to throw her hands up at the end of the fight, like, "Oh, why didn't it go my way?" Well, we just watched the fight that you were in, and you didn't perform, so that's why it went the way it went.
Yeah, so MBS is coming off a no contest to Holly Holm, unanimous decision loss to Pennington, doctor stoppage to Chase On, who we now see is not very good, and then a unanimous decision to Jasmine Justavicius, who just got knocked out by Manon Farrow. So, what do you make of what we've seen here? Is that Cavalcante is going to point strike her for 3 rounds on the outside, and MBS is going to walk towards her menacingly and do nothing. Yeah.
I really do firmly believe that they are trying. I mean, it's women's, so it's a little bit different in how you can achieve it, but they are trying to hotshot Cavalcante. I don't know why they've decided that. Maybe they just want a Portuguese
Portugal.
fighter. Yeah, I say maybe just for the region, perhaps. But whatever the reasoning might be, they are definitely trying to make Cavalcante happen because this is the exact type of fight. This is like what fighting and beating Jessica Andrade does for you. You know what I mean? It's like you're a fighter with a decent enough name. Now, granted, of course, she was a champion, so that carries a little bit more weight, a lot more weight, I guess you should say. But either way, a more veteran fighter that has a name that people recognize that you can get a win over. That's what they're doing with this fight with Cavalcante versus Bueno Silva. It's just another stepping stone fight for her where she's probably going to do exactly what you just said, and it's going to pad out a record of a fighter that I have never been sold on. I really have
Mhm.
never been sold on Cavalcante. I can guarantee you that there was at least one fight. I forget off the top of my head which opponent it was, but there was one where I was like, it was a lot closer than the scorecards made it seem, and it felt like she was almost gifted the win. Since then, I've just been like, yeah, I mean, she can certainly point strike her way to victory, but that's about what I'm seeing from her. So I'm going to need to see something legitimate out of her at some point.
Fun fact. Jacqueline Cavalcante has a win over Melissa Croden.
How about that? Where was that?
That was an LFA. It was for a belt too.
This is why we need to be watching LFA more. We want to be watching some more of these other organizations. In fact, I have a resource that I found recently to watch fights from other smaller promotions, and I might be trying to employ that sometime soon. So keep your eyes on the stream for some potential additional content from your boy if I can find some cool fights to watch sometimes.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I mean that does not surprise me. Look, all of those like early victories over other names don't really like do too much for me. It's earlier in their careers. They're still figuring stuff out. They're pre-UFC. I kind of like, unless it's like something very definitive that like really changes the conversation and like maybe like very recent to their entry to the UFC, I kind of just let all that stuff sort of play in the background.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, so in this one, yeah, I think we're both in lockstep. Cavalcante's taking this one.
100%. Yes.
All right. Next up is Josh Hokett, Mr. Pro Wrestler himself from the Contender Series, coming in against Max Jimenez. This is the person that I was talking about who's making their debut. He definitely is. Of course, he doesn't have an image, but that was already a tell. But yeah, why? I guess they're trying to hot shot Mr. Hokett over here too. So what is the reason that this guy is getting instant entry? I wonder.
Well, because when you sign one heavyweight from the Contender Series and there's no other heavyweight standout performances, well, then you're at a stand where you have one person who's moving up and then you don't have another person that's moving up alongside of him. So you have to get creative. You have one person that you have to have a fight against, but there's no young person for him to go against, and all the old people suck that you don't want to see fight because you're trying to get this new wave of heavyweights in. What can you do other than give him somebody random to fight that he's probably going to finish in the first whatever? So
it's a shame that Louis Sutherland got his ankle snatched. That might have been a nice matchup there. But either way, I mean, it could have been the same outcome because Hokett is a wrestler. So
yeah,
all I'm saying with this Hokett guy is everything that he is doing to stay in this sport, even before he has entered this sport. This is his debut in the organization proper. He is selling himself off of his mouth and not his performances. If you recall, his performance on the Contender Series was pretty boring. He is a very, heavyweight wrestling. We've talked about it before. It's sloppy. It's two big dudes kind of flopping on each other. That is what he is going to do here. So just be prepared for a boring fight with a potentially entertaining post-fight interview.
Yeah, we'll definitely see.
Yeah. But so who are you taking?
I'm going to take Hokett.
I guess I have to. So we'll see. We'll see what interesting and fun socio-political topics he'll touch on this time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, your girl Tisha Pennington is back.
Nice.
Tisha Pennington versus Denise Gomes. I think this is a good matchup for Pennington, actually. I think she might be able to do some good work here.
I think by the time this card comes around, this will be the first fight of the night because, in typical fashion, we have a women's fight that is between two really rugged women who are going to go 3 rounds in a cartoon dust cloud. And I think this is exactly what this fight should be because Tisha Pennington is very good, pushing pace a little bit. She's a little ball of fury. Don't mind it. Denise Gomes, not my favorite, but she does have that Brazilian dyke build, so I'm down for it.
She's tough. She's definitely tough. She's just it almost reminds me a little bit of Cavalcante, not in the stature or the build, but just the fact that like she's willing to go in there and she'll throw down, but she's not necessarily the most skilled. She's just really game.
Mm-hmm.
So great assets to have. It would be nice if she had the skill to back it up. On the other side of the coin, Tisha Pennington does have the skill. So I think that the movement's going to be on Tisha's side. I think Tisha's probably walking away with this one pretty handily. In fact, at plus money too. Good Lord. I got to jump on that.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into that for sure. Yeah, that's a good one.
True. All right. And your other favorite fighter over here, Miles Johns, is back against Daniel Marcos. I know that you've never been too much of a fan of Mr. Marcos. He finally did take his loss.
Yeah, so this is a short notice bout. This actually had just been put together in the most recent days because Miles Johns has not had an opponent for the past, however long, but they've been wanting him on this card. So they've been looking for an opponent. Daniel Marcos is the guy. I think Daniel Marcos, I'm going to go with Daniel Marcos. I think he's going to go ahead and get this dub back. Go 18-1. Here goes another one of these South American fighters with an insanely padded record that we just continuously disregard as like good talent. I know Marcos is not my favorite. I think he's going to surprise me.
Fair enough. I like it. I want to believe, and this might be wishful thinking on my part, but I want to believe that Miles Johns gets this done because of how things have been going for him lately. He goes into fights with a great intensity and an amazingly skilled fighter as well. I mean, like Miles Johns is a good striker. He is very solid on the feet. And for some reason, it just has not gone his way recently. I want to believe that he gets gets it back. I want to believe that this will be his bounce back fight. So I'm going to go with Miles Johns on this one.
All right. I like it.
Especially also if it's short notice for Marcos, maybe that plays in a little as well.
Mm-hmm.
And starting this thing off, Jackson McVeigh versus the homie Robert Valentine. They are really trying to make Robert Valentine work.
Yeah, no, they definitely want to get him an easy dub because this Jordan McVeigh dude, of course, I believe this is a contender series guy, but let me just double check.
Yeah,
No,
Jackson McVeigh.
sorry, actually, this is not a contender series guy. This is the guy that they found to lose to Bruno Fajeda just a little bit ago, and he
Yep.
got subbed to him.
Yeah,
Interesting.
right. Yeah, this is the dude who Bruno Fajeda had a really standout performance against.
Yeah, so yikes, either way, I'm going to go ahead and take Robert Valentine because that's my boy. And
Brother,
obviously, they need to get him a win.
it has to happen. Robert Valentine, you're too valuable as for all the time that we spent with Robert Valentine on The Ultimate Fighter. It's got to work. We got to make Robert Valentine work. He's got nothing else. He's got
Yeah,
nothing else. Robert Valentine is the avatar for all of us single dudes who love MMA and really don't do much else with our lives.
yeah,
So
100%.
come on, Robert Valentine, do it for the homies.
Yep.
All
Robert
right.
Valentine's going to get this one done for me. I definitely believe in that.
I believe it as well. I think that this is the exact fight that he got. If Robert Valentine can't win this fight, then there is something. What does that say about the quality of that?
We should have never been big fans of him if that's the case.
Well, I mean, or just what does it say about the quality level of that season of The Ultimate Fighter?
You know what's funny? Just because we like to go back on all these people's records and take a look, Ebo Aslan defeated Robert Valentine in the third round by knockout.
Hmm. Interesting. Where was
Yeah.
that?
Austrian Fight Challenge 8.
All right. Fair
I guess
enough.
that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Switzerland and Turkey, I guess.
Of course. Yeah. So, I mean, again, that's a long time ago now. This is the new
True.
improved Robert Valentine. Every fight is a new chance for Robert Valentine to achieve greatness.
All he needs is one post fight speech, and everybody who didn't see Tough will understand why the people who did watch Tough are really big fans of this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you're out there listening, that's absolutely the case. Robert Valentine is like genuinely a good dude. He was in there helping to coach and stuff as well. Like he
Well,
lives this shit.
that's another thing you said is like, where do we see Robert Valentine if he doesn't win this? I mean, he's training with Daniil at Daniil Doncheco, whatever his name is from Tough. I mean, he's one of these guys that is again always in the gym, always wanting to help others and pass knowledge on. So we're gonna see this dude around a decent amount, I believe.
Absolutely. Like I said, he lives this sport. He has dedicated his life to this sport. This is what it is. If it's not going to get done in the cage, he's going to be around it one way or another. Respect him for it.
He's one of these dudes also that like you ever just be watching a video and you're like, that's a random collaboration. Like, why would Alexa Grasso and Robert Valentine be trapped by training together? And it's like they train together on Tough, and he wanted that extra level. It's like you could just see him just pop around different places and he could just be in the background training with people, and like it would make you question, but then you think about it, it's like, well, yeah, it's Robert Valentine. I mean, that's what he does, man. This is just what he loves to do. So
Exactly. I'm telling you, the ultimate crossover collab is going to be Robert Valentine training with Emanol at DC's gym.
nice. Yeah, this
Love
will be
it.
good.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully it is good. This is coming up, of course, this Saturday, and you can hang out with us and watch along for these fights. Myself and the Vitz King will be live for the watch along on youtube.com/@Yama Show. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
They can find me streaming all the UFC events on Saturdays on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And if you guys didn't know earlier, when I dropped you a little tidbit this week, Wednesday or Thursday, we will definitely go ahead and remind you on the day, or before the day, but about the day that we're going to go ahead and review the movie Warrior, starring Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy. And what year did you say that was again?
2011.
Nice. So if you guys are out there and you want to go ahead and keep up with us and make sure you are doing some homework for the stream, Pluto TV has this streaming free, and you guys can go out there and watch it anytime you want, and make sure you come back and let us know how it was on Wednesday or Thursday when we are talking about that movie.
Absolutely. Go and get yourself a viewing of Warrior, and we will be here to break it all down for you in very, very finite detail. You know, your boys go
Yes.
deep with these films, and we have done just that for this one as well. Video is out now about the Isaac Dulgarian fight fixing scandal on the channel. I know a lot of you guys have watched it already. Thank you so much for the support on that. If you have not seen it, go over there, give it a watch, give it a like, leave a comment on that. We will be back for the fights. We'll be here for the Warrior review and maybe possibly some additional content, perhaps if the time will allow. And of course, we will keep you updated on all of the happenings with the Dulgarian situation. So until next time, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us for this one. We appreciate you. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on.